Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is Johnboy. I'm your host, John Francis Fahey. Joining me as ever is Dong Cheadle.
Hey!
Wow. What's up, man?
What's up? Happy to be here. The Horror Machine.
Yeah.
And to my right, your left,
Yes.
is the one of the founding gay Vengers,
Yes.
Clit Barfin, hot guy.
Hot guy.
Yeah, hot guy.
Hot guy is good.
Guilty as charged.
Clit Barfin.
Yeah,
Clit
that's good.
Barfin.
That's good.
Oh, my God. So much.
And he's not so good now.
And his name is Handsome Matt Brousseau.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll
AKA
Clint Barfin.
Clit Barfin.
God,
Clint, sorry,
I
Clit
forgot, I forgot he had a hearing problem and you slipped that in.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
What?
Oh, that
Hey,
Barfin.
shout out to Jeremy Renner, though. The real hero.
The real hero,
Yeah.
yeah. His music career,
I hope.
Yeah.
very cool.
Asshole.
I think he's healed. Is he all healed up?
Yeah,
from
he's
his
all healed up.
snowblower act or
Yeah, but
snowmobile accident.
He went on Smart List podcast
Yeah?
and talked about like, oh, dude, I saw the light. I don't fear death anymore. It's all vibrations. I don't want to do any hard roles anymore. He's
What?
like, I
Whoa.
can't do any roles that are like taxing or complex. He's like, fuck that.
No, good
Oh
for
my
him.
God.
He's had a good run.
Yeah, no, it was actually a pretty cool interview.
It's all about vibes.
He was like, yeah, we're all vibrations. Fucking saw the light. Don't fear death. You know, it's fucking pretty bad there for a minute. Just they made calls to my family like we tried.
Oh, my
Jesus.
God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mama tried. Boys, I'm here to share a story.
Oh, good.
Okay, good.
Yes.
About how that fucking spunk got on the sign behind you?
Yeah. I don't know if the spunk is showing up on the cameras, but yeah, I accidentally punctured a beer and it fucking went off. It was shooting ropes of jizz all over the studio, and we cleaned it up pretty much everywhere except for the sign because we thought it would be apropos of this episode.
Okay.
The obituaries say Porfirio Rubirosa Ariza was a 20th century Dominican diplomat, race car driver, soldier, and polo player. But Rubi, as he was known, became famous globally for his work with his schlong.
Aw.
His penis?
Yes. He attracted the world's most glamorous and wealthy women and pleased them to a legendary extent.
Wow.
Oh my God. Twos of orgasms. Legendary.
Many as 2 orgasms a night. He was the Latin lover, the definition of a playboy, living the jet-set life to the hilt. He exploited his charm, style, and physical prowess to their limits and lived a life of adventure and riches, cut short by tragedy.
Oh.
When he was well into his 50s, he crossed paths with the Rat Pack and set a partying pace that they struggled to match.
Oof.
He was their tour guide through Parisian society and nightlife. Sammy Davis Jr. said,
he could put a reading on anyone. He would just trim the fat off everything. People would come in and he'd go, bullshit artist. He had unerring instinct, babe.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Sammy said, I have always cared about clothes, and I would go to any length to look good. But the way Rubirosa dressed made me feel like I'd fallen off a garbage truck.
It's almost Dennis Miller.
Yeah, there's a little.
It's way more Dennis.
There's a little
Oh,
Miller in there.
and now I'm realizing that I think Dennis is doing Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
pretty
just going to
good.
ask. Yeah.
Ooh, one-sided. After
Yeah, is
that,
that-
Sammy Dennis
Is that
Miller
okay?
Jr.
Sammy, nice. Nice.
one-sided? I thought that was, you're doing a Sammy joke about him being blind and having one eye.
Oh my God.
I thought you said one. Anyway.
I did say one-sided. After a night on the town with Ruby, Sammy was wrecked and staggering through lunch. Ruby was none the worse for wear and elegantly leaned against the bar sipping a Ramos Gin Fizz, which is also Huey Long's drink, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Davis asked Ruby how he did it, and he said, your profession is being an entertainer. Mine is being a playboy.
Smart.
Hey, boy.
Smart.
Rafael Trujillo, the Dominican dictator, once told the press, he's an excellent diplomat because women like him and because he is a liar.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it makes sense.
He was born January 22nd, 1909, in the city of San Francisco de Macorís in Dominican Republic. He was the youngest of 3 children. His mother was Ana Ariza Almanzar. His father was Pedro Maria Rubirosa. The Rubirosas were upper middle class Criollo family.
Criollo.
Yes.
Okay.
You familiar with that?
Yeah.
The original term for people of Spanish descent, such as yourself, born in the Spanish colonies.
That's right.
And not like yourself.
Los Angeles.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
right,
Yeah,
sure,
you're right.
yeah.
They are an ethnic group and a social class at the same time.
That's right.
His paternal grandparents were Pedro Rubirosa, an immigrant from Spain's Catalonian region, and Maria de la Paz Rossi, the daughter of an Italian immigrant.
Interesting.
The maternal grandparents were Buenaventura Ariza y Castillo and Maria Dolores Almanzar, members of the elite provincial class. His father, Don Pedro, was a womanizer and a professional military man, a one-time general of a militia of soldiers working for the government in Dominican Republic's mountainous Cibao region. CIBAO. Don Pedro rose through the ranks of the military service and became a diplomat. He served a brief stint in St. Thomas, which is just 350 miles
Yeah,
from...
it's the Virgin Islands.
Yeah. Then he was upgraded to chief of the Dominican embassy in Paris in 1915.
Chief, huh?
Yeah. Little Ruby was just 6 years old when his father left for Paris. Don Pedro took his youngest son abroad for the first time in 1920. The 11-year-old was stunned by Paris. It couldn't be more different from his homeland. He had to acclimate quickly and absorb the language, the culture, and manners expected of a diplomat's son. The Rubirosas would make the city their home for the next 3 years. Don Pedro and the family were about to return to the Dominican Republic in 1923. A wealthy Chilean family living in Paris said were close friends of the Rubirosas. They found little Ruby so charming, so wonderful, that they begged Don Pedro to leave him with them.
Give me your son.
That they can continue raising him in Paris. And
That's it.
Leave the kid.
Yeah.
Don Pedro thought it was totally cool to let his 14-year-old son live with another
14.
family,
14's 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
foreign country, on another continent. Ruby returned to the Dominican Republic when he was 17 in 1926. He intended to study law, but he soon abandoned that path and enlisted in the army instead. He advanced rapidly, becoming a captain at age 20 in 1929. He was also captain of the country's polo team. At this time, Ruby was earning a meager government salary. He didn't have any family money to rely on. He started setting up boxing matches near Santo Domingo's town square on the weekends.
Nice.
Cool, yeah. Little public boxing match.
The price of admission was 2 cents. When he wasn't running the door, he was sitting on the curb with his shirt off, whistling at the pretty women passing by.
God damn it.
This guy knows how to bring the audience in.
This guy knows how to toxically male-ize.
Uh-huh.
Around this time, the country was sinking into political chaos. Its incompetent democratic government fell in 1930 to Colonel Rafael Trujillo in a coup. Trujillo, a former guard in the sugarcane fields, had risen quickly in the National Guard through the 20s after being trained by the U.S. Marines. On seizing power, Trujillo launched a 31-year reign of terror as dictator.
Reign of terror.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like...
He renamed Santo Domingo Ciudad Trujillo and demanded that he'd be addressed as benefactor and father of the new fatherland.
So he's a humble guy, as you
Yes.
say. Yeah.
When Ruby was 22 years old, he met Trujillo at a country club where he was playing polo in a polo match. He wrote in his memoirs in the 60s but didn't finish them, but he remembered Trujillo asking, "What are you doing with yourself?" He said he was studying to become a lawyer, and he told the young soldier that he should come into the Presidential Guard instead. He clearly made a very good impression on him.
Uh-huh.
The next morning, Trujillo requested a meeting and named Ruby lieutenant of his Presidential Guard. The next morning.
Wow, he really must be good at whistling at those ladies.
Ruby was fitted for a
Polo.
uniform, and he enjoyed knowing that women love a man in uniform.
Yeah.
The next, one of his first assignments was especially high profile. He had to pick up Trujillo's oldest daughter from the airport.
Oh, my God.
Jesus Christ, this is just...
Start whistling on her.
The 17-year-old Flor de Oro, or Flower of Gold, was returning home after studying in Paris. When Ruby started speaking to her in French, she was instantly taken by the handsome young guard. She invited him to attend a ball being held at the presidential palace. That night, he monopolized her attention. They danced every single dance that the band played, a major breach of conduct in polite society. It was not just rude, but downright dangerous when her dad is the dictator.
Yeah.
Or the benefactor of the fatherland.
Etc.
50 of one.
AKA and your boss.
He was enraged to learn about his daughter's infatuation with Ruby and the breach of etiquette. He decommissioned Ruby immediately, and he went into hiding at his family's coffee plantation.
Oh, my God.
Forbidden love.
He was hiding out for a little over a week when he got so stir-crazy he couldn't take it anymore. In his memoirs, Unfinished, he wrote, "It's one of my fundamental principles. I would prefer risking everything instead of being bored.
Tight.
Trujillo's daughter sent along a message in secret to the plantation to be passed to him.
Ooh.
He was to show up at a phone booth in the city at a specific time. They met, and she revealed that she told her father she wanted to marry him. He said, during those 8 days of my exile, the government had stopped governing and the country was paralyzed.
Just looking for this guy.
Yeah, they don't know what to do without me hooking up with this guy's
he's
daughter.
saying everything fell apart when I had to go hide in the coffee field.
Yeah.
She proposed to Ruby at the phone booth, and he enthusiastically accepted.
Oh my God.
Is the phone booth still there today?
I don't
Be
know.
a landmark of sorts.
Her dad probably had it bombed. She recorded some of her memoirs by audio tape before she died in 1975, and she said she described the scene that took place after her wedding. We were brought to a bungalow on the grounds of the palace. I was still wearing my wedding dress so that my mother, who was not invited by Trujillo to the wedding, could see it before I lost my virginity.
Jesus.
Oh.
He took me to the nuptial bed. I was scared, this thing lurching at me. I was disgusted and became afraid, running all over the house.
Oh.
She's talking about that big old worm.
Yeah. Because it was like,
Boing boing?
The spoim moim. She said she was sore for a week after the consummation of the marriage.
Well, she lost her virginity.
yeah.
Hurts.
Ruby was not an especially tall man. About
need to be.
5'9".
You served in the military?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you asked him, he would say 5'9". He wouldn't say 5'8.5".
5'9", sir.
He had a slender build, carefully coiffed hair. This is him on his wedding day with the young lady.
Oh, he looks like Ronaldo.
Yeah, he kind of does. Like,
Ronaldo.
yeah.
Yeah. Here he is with a it's a little better. A couple of horsies, Aaron. I know you like horsies.
I love horsies.
Polo guy, you know.
Yeah, polo.
Wow.
guy.
He's even wearing a polo shirt.
Yeah, that's probably how that got started.
Yeah,
Huh?
wow, crazy.
His penis was larger than average, but the
Oh, cool.
different sources, changes.
Sometimes it was left. Sometimes it
So
was right.
that's why he's hanging out with the horses, just for comparison. of
Yeah,
size.
yeah. Trying to make the
Check out
horse.
these 3 horse cocks.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
3 horses there.
Well, because the horses there have small dick.
Oh,
Yeah, at this horse ranch, he still is the one that's hung.
Yeah, exactly.
Still.
Exactly.
Some say anywhere from 11 to 14 inches.
Come on, get out of here.
Yeah, when he's holding it with
Truman
his hand.
Capote never saw Ruby's dick firsthand.
Second hand.
But he described in an unfinished novel called Answered Prayers.
Can't even finish it.
He called it an 11-inch cafe au lait sinker as thick as a man's wrist.
Sinker?
Sinker. Pretty cool, huh?
Did he hear from one of his swans?
I don't know, but you heard it from somebody, and a lot of people talked about it, but apparently Ruby never talked about it himself.
Wait, are they talking metric or?
Inches are not metric.
No, I'm kidding.
Everybody who's been interviewed for books about him says he absolutely never talked about it.
Why?
Didn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of cool thing. You let the worm get the word out.
Yeah.
The early worm gets the word.
There was a legend that he could balance a table with his penis, but that's not the kind
Balance a table?
of that's not the kind of thing he would ever do.
What do you mean? Like put it underneath the leg?
I think like hold up a table with his dick kind of thing. Yeah.
What kind of tables? What are these shoddy tables we're working with here?
Um,
On a man's table.
one time a writer was asking a lover of Ruby's about the size of his dick, and he said, "How about this shoe?" And he's a size 11, and she's like, "Nah, bigger than that." So, who's to say?
Well, more power to him.
Ruby, he didn't talk about it. He was a well-mannered gentleman.
You'd just open doors within.
He also possessed a supernatural ability to get hard at the drop of a hat.
Nice. This does relate to last night's Patreon.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Chief.
Short guy, huge cock, getting
Yeah.
hard underneath in 1 minute.
Calling everybody chief.
Yeah. Check out the Patreon, folks. $5 a month.
You want to hear that story?
We talked about a porn I saw that was pretty bizarre.
Oh, thank you.
But we got plenty over here. We talked about people, the history of people shitting on boats, and we talked about
Giving birth in a golden corral?
Yeah, it goes all over the place. It's a much more informal discussion. We do an extra episode per week. It is $5 a month. Please get involved.
Yeah, for a limited time only.
Yeah. While supplies last.
Void prohibited.
His constant state of erection earned him the nickname Toujours Prêt, which is the motto of the Coast Guard, always ready. You like that shit?
His constant state of erection?
Yeah.
I think he's just a shower.
Yeah.
No. It's that he can get hard at the drop of a hat.
Okay, always ready. Got it.
But still, maybe people just thought he was.
Trujillo, the dictator, did approve of the marriage.
With a dick like that.
He declared their wedding day a national holiday.
Oh my God.
Well, he's father of the fatherland.
He has to.
Yeah.
In 1935, he dispatches him to Berlin, which is his first assignment as a diplomat. Trujillo said to a journalist at the time, he's an excellent diplomat because women like him and because he's a liar. Of course, Berlin in 1935 was Hitler time. But Ruby was not really interested in getting to know Hitler, probably because he was a little dark in the complexion.
And
they had wildly different penises.
Yes, Hitler had tiny penis.
And he just wanted to fuck with girls.
Yeah.
One time he met a woman at a bar and went home with her, and he didn't come back to his house until 6 in the morning. He discovered a huge bouquet of red roses that had already been delivered, along with a card that read, a night in which the sun never set.
Ooh, boy.
Roses were delivered to his house.
Yes. In Flora's estimate, the Berlin chapter was the happiest time I remember. She admitted...
She's there getting cheated on.
Yeah.
And it's happy time.
Well, it's the happiest time I remember, but she admitted it was difficult being married to him and living with him. He was transferred to the embassy in Paris and seemed to love being back in his adopted homeland. She recalled, he was living it up in Paris. He was out every night and would come home at dawn, covered with lipstick. I was so jealous, and when I asked him where he was, he beat me.
Oh my God.
What?
Jesus Christ.
The brutal dictator's daughter?
I mean, I guess the dictator could find that relatable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what you do.
This diplomat guy,
He's like, I had to do something. I was bored.
Is he like he's got to woo the whole country?
I don't. I mean, well, we're gonna get a little bit more into that. It didn't take her long to get tired of that shit.
Yeah,
she left him
beatings?
and went back to her family in the DR. She was devastated, and it didn't escape the dictator's notice. He scolded her for marrying a playboy, but granted her the divorce.
Good.
Ruby offered no protest and accepted a petition from Paris, and in the years that followed, she would get married 8 more times.
Why
Trying
not?
to find the shoe that fits.
Yeah.
So Trujillo had been extremely fond of Ruby, but after that, he would have killed him if he had come back to the DR.
Fair.
That lasted for about a year. Ruby didn't have the family's money to bankroll his lifestyle. He doesn't do anything.
Right.
And he started a very profitable side hustle selling Dominican Republic visas to Jewish people who were looking to escape Nazi-controlled Europe.
Wow.
Nice. And wooing. All the free roses you can ask for.
Yeah. And then he got caught up in a scheme that involved using his diplomatic passport for jewel smuggling.
Okay.
When the Spanish Civil War was raging...
He was Jew smuggling before.
and then Jewel.
Jewels.
Yes.
Yeah.
I smuggled jewelry.
I think you smuggled that jewel that's illegal now, right?
Yeah.
There was a jeweler was fleeing Spain, and he was hiding out in Paris, and he got to know Ruby and asked him, can he use his diplomatic passport and travel to Madrid to retrieve the store's inventory? And Ruby says, yep, and he goes back without any of the merchandise. And he got face-to-face with the jeweler, and he said he was attacked on the road by a gang of snipers, and they shot out his vehicle and robbed him of the jewels. But luckily, they let him escape with his life.
And this $10,000.
And all this lipstick.
Yeah.
But his car didn't have any bullet holes in it.
Yeah.
And the inventory was estimated to be worth $180,000.
Oh. He probably got robbed by a mechanic who fixed his car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't get robbed by anybody. He stopped by a fucking pawn shop or whatever. Then, out of nowhere, one day, he gets a call from Rafael Trujillo.
Oh, hey.
Hey, remember my...
And he starts talking to him like nothing happened.
Nice.
Like it's all good. He tells Ruby that his wife and their 10-year-old son would be arriving in Paris.
That whose wife? That Trujillo's wife.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And he needed a tour guide to go around Paris. His son was Ramphis.
I'm sorry. Can you spell Ramphis for me?
Ramfis.
Okay. I was kind of hoping it's Ramfist,
Yeah.
but
He was named a Dominican Army general when he was 9.
well, he's probably a quick learner.
General Ramfist. Oh my God.
And Ruby would be showing the first lady and the little general the best that Paris had to offer. They had such a good time on his tours that they encouraged Trujillo to come out with them himself. The very next night he came out and he said, Trujillo wanted me to show him the most elegant places in Paris without rice and beans. I took him to the restaurant in the Eiffel Tower, and there was such a beautiful woman there selling postage stamps that Trujillo had sex with her right there on the tower.
Oh my
Jesus
God.
Christ. What? How much were the stamps worth?
I know, it's not stamps. And he's like, I own a country, lady. Stamps.
Tramp stamps.
A month later, he was named a commercial attaché to France. And a writer for Vanity Fair showed up wanting to know about his official duties. He's just back on the payroll now because
Yeah.
he just charmed the shit out of this dictator that totally fucked over his daughter.
Yeah, and he also got him laid, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on top of the Eiffel Tower.
And yeah. I mean, how many people can say that?
Yeah, one night in Paris, baby.
He hired some courtesan to pretend to sell
Oh,
stamps.
yeah. I mean, that would have been the move, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, Mr.
Commandant, you're so charming.
An employee of the embassy in Paris had viewed all of the office files from the years that Ruby worked there, and the writer came to the conclusion that he did no work at all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So cool.
No official work, anyway.
No, you know, he's a diplomat.
Yeah.
He put in long hours in other areas like the Moulin Rouge and all the seedy cabarets in the Latin Quarter. In the fall of 1940, the Count de Limur invited Ruby to a cocktail party. It was being held in honor of France's highest paid movie star, the stunning 23-year-old Danielle Darrieux. At the end of the night, the Count asked Ruby to drive Darrieux home because
come on.
they both lived on the same street. As she was leaving the party, one of the guests warned her, "Careful, this man is dangerous."
Careful.
Well, look at his shoes.
Ruby described this era of new love in his memoirs. It was like a spring had sprung. An eternal voice told me, "Caramba, how I like this woman."
And he hears that voice.
It's omnipresent.
Exactly.
We dined together a couple of days at Maxim's, and when we met next, we knew we would never be separated again. We decided to marry as soon as we were free, and then here's the lovely long
Yeah,
here.
I mean-
It's a big send, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an enter,
Yeah, full send.
full send, forward.
Reply all.
But before he could marry her, the Vichy government placed Ruby under arrest, which was like under vague charges. They kept him in a hotel at Bad Neuheim. The government's camp just so happened to be right next to a ski resort. During his 5-month imprisonment, he was allowed to spend all of his days working on his,
Getting the slope.
Yeah. Or maybe doing some skiing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He married Danielle in 1942. There was so little known about Ruby at the time that the New York Times printed that he was a diplomat from San Salvador. Supposedly, Danielle had been
Paper of record.
Yeah.
Danielle had been a Nazi sympathizer, and she was still living in France trying to keep a low profile. She was so unpopular for having allegedly supported the Nazis that she and Ruby were attacked on the boulevard Malesherbes in Paris. They were driving in an open car when they were shot at. Ruby threw himself to cover his wife and protect her. He took 3 bullets close to his kidneys.
Oh
Whoa.
my God.
He was like,
You staged it.
Yeah.
leave my Nazi wife alone.
Yeah. But he kept the jewels safe.
Yeah. At least I got my balls.
his dick took 9.
It was steering while they rode out of there.
You take the wheel. El Jefe, take the wheel.
This attack led him to move 30 miles west of Paris, and they lived there peacefully for the next few months. He took to farming, raising a cow, 2 pigs, and 6 sheep. They better watch out.
This man is dangerous.
Watch out. This man is dangerous. The cow.
Mm.
When the couple had guests in town, they'd bring firearms and cognac as gifts.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
That's
After
what
the
I
end-
asked my guests to do, too.
After the end of the Second World War, Trujillo transferred Ruby to be a diplomatic post in Italy, and his wife followed him, being in between films at the time. The day after Danielle arrived in Rome, she was met by a journalist from Harper's Bazaar for an interview. The reporter was Doris Duke, and she met Danielle in her hotel suite. Doris Duke was no ordinary writer. She was an heir to a $100 million tobacco fortune.
Duke University.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby first remembered
assume so,
her, the three of us had breakfast. She, Duke, seemed lively, jovial, with that je ne quoi that American women have. Little did I know that a few months later I would be completely controlled by her. Until then, I had been happy with Danielle. But at this moment, things started to change.
I heard a little voice say, "Caramba."
Yeah.
Boy, do I like this woman.
She does this thing with the balls.
Oh, my God.
A polo friend of Ruby's, Gerard Bonnet, would say that Duke sent Ruby a telegram after that first meeting. And it said, "When you are finished with Danielle, call me and I will come."
Oh, my God.
How'd you spell it?
It would seem that he responded with some encouragement because she quickly wrote back, arriving immediately.
Jesus Christ.
Duke's biographer, Stephanie Mansfield, would say she loved him, no question in my mind. He was the only one who was genuine in his pursuit of her. He didn't pretend to be anything but a gold, or like a gold digger or gigolo or
Yeah.
whatever.
Playboy, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm here. Let's hang out. We'll fuck.
He didn't need to manipulate her into a relationship. She was realistic about her situation. She was in her mid-30s, couldn't have children, and wasn't a world-renowned beauty, according to multiple sources.
Wasn't a world-renowned beauty. Rich.
Yeah.
She was 6 feet tall, pretty unusual for debutantes.
Cool.
If she found her short king.
Yeah.
She was attached to a member of Parliament in Britain, Sir Alec Cunningham Reid. Some have said that he was the love of her life, but he just left her to complete his military service for the crown.
Sorry, my dear.
Terribly sorry,
Sorry, you huge bitch. You behemoth. I've got to serve for queen and country.
Oh, no.
That's her?
She's pretty.
Yeah. I've seen others where she's not.
She's a little. She's a little
nice looking
more
lady.
comely.
Gets a little witchy.
Yeah, I can
And then,
understand.
when the
Cool.
chin comes out far.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
The Habsburg.
Yeah, it's great. For you.
Oh, you.
Pool, pond.
Duke's biographer called Ruby an international man of mystery.
Oh.
And really a fuck you to Duke's mother, who had warned her about men being after her money. A friend of Ruby said on the record, she was ugly, very rich, but ugly. But he was a gentleman. He would never say that.
Of course not. He doesn't even talk about his giant fucking prehensile cock.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, basically the idea is probably he was into the money, but he was also liked her personality, and he's still going to fuck whoever he wants to fuck anyway.
Yeah, it's not going to stop.
He's a charming guy. All of his partners seem to be rich people.
There is a persisting rumor that Doris Duke gave Danielle a cool $1 million to leave Ruby. A friend of Duke's said she could buy toys, but Ruby was not a toy. He was difficult to keep, but it was a special deal. He was more for pleasure, like a whim.
Side piece.
1 year after they first met, September 1st, 1947, Doris and Ruby were married at the Dominican Embassy in Paris. The bride wore a green Dior suit with matching velvet hat. The shorter groom, who was 38 years old, wore a smoking jacket with gray pinstripe trousers.
Yeah. She said, I do.
He wore a Valentino dress.
He said, I caramba.
Ruby seemed to be in good spirits until he was visited by two men from Doris Duke's law firm who presented him with a prenup.
Oh.
He got drunk enough to sign the prenup and then passed out after the ceremony.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you know,
Smart.
pretty good move.
Doris Duke told her friends, "Big boy passed out in my arms."
Pig boy? Wait, so...
Big boy, not pig boy.
No,
But
big...
he does have a pig.
No, I said big boy.
Oh.
Because
I
that's...
heard big.
Yeah. So he fell asleep on the bed.
We are
But
gonna get
big
to-
boy passed out in her arms.
There is going to be a little pig coming up.
Oh. They did have all those farm animals.
During the marriage, she gifted him a $500,000 check, polo ponies, sports cars, a fishing fleet off of Africa,
Oh.
What?
and a converted B-52 bomber plane.
Well, you never know when you need it.
Into like a cool bachelor pad with like a pinball machine.
Yeah. He
yeah.
doesn't need all that killing people shit.
No,
it's a-
the turret is just like a cool observation
A
deck.
three-story
it's a diner.
townhouse in Paris built in the 17th century.
Jesus Christ.
So it's good AC.
Yeah.
It had the only ace.
Yeah, skeletons holding a bottle of wine.
One of the catacombs.
This guy got caught up in the revolution big time. Oh, 17th century. No, that would be earlier. I'm sorry. Ruby installed a regulation-sized boxing ring and a full bar on the top floor where the servants' quarters used to be.
Awesome.
That's nuts.
See, this guy had the fucking loft from Big.
Yeah.
He did. He still went out all the time. He'd leave bars and nightclubs around 4 in the morning. Followed home by a trio of guitar players from the Calvados nightclub.
Yeah, he's probably dropping them, paying them money. Why not?
They
Something
would,
to drown out this voice that keeps saying caramba.
they would set up the instruments inside the boxing ring,
Uh-huh.
keeping the party going until the wee hours of the morning.
Oh my god.
It's already the wee hours.
Yeah.
His butler Vic would be serving beers and scotch and all types of good shit.
Vic.
Oh, and Spanish tortilla omelets?
Hey, nice.
Wow.
That's not bad, Aaron.
Hey, for drunk food,
Yeah.
it's the best.
Yeah, that'll work.
Meanwhile, the dictator was very impressed that he hooked up with one of the world's richest women.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be?
He offered Ruby his pick of any ambassadorship.
Just because of my game recognized game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I do it because I'm bloodthirsty,
I
crazy
still
guy.
think about that night on the Eiffel Tower. My God, that was a time of my life.
And stamps.
Because of the polo play, he chose Argentina.
Argentina?
Yes.
Is that near Sardinia?
Is that because of your aluminium foil?
Yes. He presented his credentials to Perón.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
And at the time, Perón was seen as a center-right dictator, similar to Franco in Spain. And
Did he fuck Evita?
he wanted him to find out. Trujillo wanted Ruby to find out what this guy was going to be up to.
What's this Perón guy?
Is he like me?
What's it going to mean for the DR, basically?
I wasn't thinking about the DR.
No. Think about
Now, Ramphas's son, Ramphas Jr.,
Oh, so Ramphas is grown up now. He's 16.
he said, my grandfather assumed he'd find out whatever he needed, whatever it takes, even if it meant sleeping with Evita. Unfortunately, Doris Duke absolutely hated living in Argentina, and Sue booked it out of there for Paris. Her biographer explained, while Doris fell in love with Ruby, he didn't want to be the man of just one woman, and she was not easy. She wanted Ruby to be there always, like a slave, but he wanted to do as he pleased.
A woman who came from tobacco money?
You say the white American with the back.
She wanted the brown guy to be like a slave.
Mm-hmm. Huh. And she knew this before she married him, that he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
She did. She's smart.
Give him a $500,000 check.
She caught him fucking floor on the island of Capri.
Oh, she went back to him.
Well, you went Capri. Yeah.
Ruby said that there was immediately a new lunch guest. He had a briefcase and he was an attorney. 3 minutes later, we signed an agreement. They were officially divorced. October 30th, 1948. Lasted just under 2 years.
Hey.
But what at 2 years?
So, she gives up the Paris house and all the contents and agrees to pay $25K a year in alimony.
What? What happened to the prenup?
That was the prenup.
Oh, that was.
Until he remarried.
Come on.
But that's the equivalent of $320,000 a year now.
Yeah. We could all use that. Forget the house in Paris. I'll just take the money.
No, I'll take the house.
His memoirs say that she returned to the States, and he says, this was so stupid because we did not want to be separated. Well,
okay.
wow.
Well, you send the paper.
For the next year, all we did was reunite in the back of airplanes in between the United States and Europe. So he's still fucking pounding her out, too.
He's a B-52 bomber himself, if you know what I mean.
Dropping fucking loads.
Well, a writer asked him why he married Doris Duke, and he said, what I did is better than most people do. They go out with a girl from a good family, they take all her money, and then they leave her. The difference with me is that I marry her, give her the best time in the world, and when I leave her, she is richer than ever before.
Inexperience.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Socialite CZ Guest, a close friend of Doris Duke, said that Doris never had a bad word to say about Ruby. When she finally died in 1993, she had just 2 framed photographs beside her bed, one longtime boyfriend, Louis Broomfeld, and one of Ruby.
Who's this Broomfield?
Yeah.
Broomfield. I'm sorry.
From the broom fortune.
From the Broomfields.
Yes.
Yeah.
When Ruby was in Paris, he would typically start his day by waking up at noon.
Oh, yeah. No, relatable.
After having his coffee, he'd go to the Bagatelle Polo Club in the Bois de Bouillon Park to exercise his polo ponies up until 6 p.m. It's a fair old workout, it seems.
Yeah, you know.
Gotta fucking work the ponies.
That's right. You know, one at a time. You can't run them all at the same time.
Shames them with his cock.
One of his Dominican friends said Ruby was the only one who played polo wearing a jacket and a scarf.
I'm not playing polo, Alfred.
He protected his skin with honey. He took better care of himself than a woman. After polo, him and his friends would start drinking. Typically, he could polish off a bottle of scotch on his own.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
One friend said, by 2 a.m, what Ruby called the petit cochon, little pig, the little animal that sleeps inside every man's brain, would awake.
Ay, caramba.
And then it was time for the women. He did not need to say anything to the woman. He merely danced with her. That said it all.
I bet he could dance, this guy.
If he was talking to an 80-year-old or a 4-year-old, the most beautiful woman in the world could walk in and he wouldn't look at her, said Mildred Ricart, a friend from the Dominican Republic. Her husband had been in the Foreign Service with Ruby. He made each woman feel that she was the most important thing in the world. There are a lot of men who are excellent in bed, but you can't go to dinner with them.
That's
His favorite hangout was Jimmy's Disco.
Yimmies.
The owner, Regine, had fond memories of Ruby. When he came in, everything changed like magic. All of a sudden, the women were on fire. It was everything. His eyes, his hair. He never went running after the women. The women were throwing themselves at him.
He was like aerosolized cocaine.
Yeah. They would even pull him into the ladies' room. He was a victim, not a gigolo. His gallantry was unmatched. When he was around, an unlit cigarette never touched any woman's lips. The restaurateur, Claude Terrell, would say, he liked women who were rather plump, the way they were in the Dominican Republic, adding, but usually it was just for 5 minutes behind the bar or down in the wine cellar. He'd say to the woman, come on, let's do it and just forget about it in the morning.
Honestly, that's a good strategy for a guy like that.
Yeah.
You know, with just a numbers game.
Yeah.
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 It's going to work. Once, twice a night.
Yeah. They just forget about it on their own with you.
That's called blocking it out.
It certainly helped his case that he was totally sterile.
It definitely did.
Probably got mumps or something as a kid.
Cool.
Probably cut a few things afterwards.
Yeah, well, he didn't just get mumps. He got humps and bumps. And
Renowned fashion designer Oleg Cassini said he had one of the best qualities for any lover, time. Since he didn't work, he could control his time. He would go out and stay in bed for the next whole day. He had a saying, one night out, one night in. Fucking nice. Almost got it.
yeah.
Oh, God. Besides polo, his other major passion was car racing. He'd been gifted many top-of-the-line sports cars. There you go. He owned several Ferraris that were race-ready. He also befriended race car drivers from around the world. In June 1950, he took part in the first race of the 24-hour Le Mans with his partner Pierre Legoni. 4 years later, he partnered with Innocento Baggio, but in both cases, his car didn't end up finishing.
But he did.
Rafael Trujillo returned Ruby to his old spot at the Dominican embassy in Paris. The dictator didn't just give Ruby jobs, he also repeatedly bailed him out financially when he was short on funds. He was quoted as saying, most man's ambition is to save money. Mine is to spend it. Ruby said.
Yeah, you know.
I like spending it.
He never had a very good head for business, and the chance for an easy payout overruled his good judgment again and again. It was the summer of 1952, and Ruby got a phone call from the mysterious Alexander Korganov.
Oh, here we go.
He had a story to tell about sunken treasure off the coast of the Dominican Republic.
Wait a minute.
For some reason, hunting for lost treasure in the ocean seemed like a can't-miss, get-rich opportunity.
I've got a fleet of fishing vessels.
Yeah. You're saying the guy with bad business sense thought this was a no-miss opportunity?
Yep.
Okay.
He flew to the capital, Santo Domingo, and hastily assembled a crew for this expedition. They'd be crossing the Atlantic on a ship called the Returns.
I thought you were going to say tards.
Oh, sorry. No, it's the Re. It turns out Those hiring decisions were disastrous. Within a week of their arrival, the crew were all arrested for drunken behavior and mutiny.
Oh my god, mutiny
Yeah, they mutinized.
on a treasure hunting ship.
Jesus.
And drunken behavior.
It must have been a hell of a drinking night, the mutiny.
One night on, one night
We can
off.
fucking do this ourselves.
Where's the rope? I got a shit.
All of our cocks had together are his.
Ruby got the crew out of prison, even though they fucked everything up. They sailed to search for the treasure, but storm hit, and the Ree took on heavy weather damage.
Storm hit.
Yep.
Ancient sands. Show the way. I fucking fucked with the wrong mutant.
That's right. Yeah,
You
storm.
should have pulled that fucking hog out.
Yeah.
That mutant hog.
I know.
Storm would have been like, "Wah."
Yeah. All of my sucking power.
The tornadoes of the Mideast suck this man's hog deep into my throat.
This is a new fanfic?
Unleash a wave.
A tsunami of semen. Drown these heathens.
Yeah, he lost about $250,000 doing this whole fucking fucked up
Yeah,
thing.
it wasn't his.
And but as long as he was a good Trujillo, he never needed a job.
Yeah, he was having a good old time.
Yeah.
The grandson Ramphis Jr. said he was like a son to him, even more so than my own father. And so my grandfather would just send him a blank check whenever Ruby needed it.
Oh, God, you got to get tight with a dictator.
Mm-hmm. You gotta sleep with his daughter and then break it off
Beat
because
her
you're
up a
cheating
little
on
bit.
her. Yeah.
He was the best public relations money could buy for the regime because he was so popular.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
And
makes sense.
the only condition for the money was that he always fly the Dominican flag when he has a party.
Waving this shit around.
My people!
You got the Wakanda fucking
No,
music?
no, yeah, we'll have to add that.
He met a woman he was interested. He'd send her when he met a woman he was interested in. He'd send her a single rose and a card reading to the most beautiful of women in French. In the early 1950s, Ruby was in his 40s and reaching his peak as a sexual adventurer.
Cool. Same.
The columnist Taki Theodorakopoulos.
Oh, that's a great name.
That's the Ancient Aliens guy.
Yeah, Taki Theodorakopoulos partied with Ruby and remembered that when drunk, Ruby would take out a guitar and sing, "I'm just a gigolo."
Oh, tight,
Yes. There we go.
He exuded a sense of danger and romance and adventure, said Taki's wife, the writer Alexandra Theodorakopoulos.
Makes sense.
You have to remember that in the 1950s, it was much more of a man's world. You went to a men's club, you played sports with just men. Women weren't taken as seriously, and you didn't see them during the day. They were more for night, as sex objects. Ruby romanced so many famous women over the years that it would be impossible to accurately map out who was with who. The following women were confirmed as being linked to Ruby by at least one source. The actresses Dolores Del Rio, Eartha Kitt,
Wow.
Marilyn Monroe, Ava Gardner, Maria Montez, Rita Hayworth, Dorothy Dandridge, Lupe Velez, Peggy Hopkins Joyce, Joan Crawford, Veronica Lake, Kim Novak, and Judy Garland.
Oh.
What,
He
in Hollywood Machine?
He was also hooking up with the singer Amalia Rodriguez, the first lady of Argentina, Eva Perón, and the second wife of the Shah of Iran, Soraya Esfandiari.
Oh.
Guy just loves flying close to the flame, doesn't he?
He does. Can't help it.
Everybody likes
it's
him.
a petit couchon.
Yeah. Everybody likes the guy.
You haven't nutted until you fuck a dictator's wife, pal.
You'll never nut so hard in your life.
And ropes.
What happens with the cream?
Oh,
Cream will rise to the top.
so true. So prescient.
Yeah. Especially when it's sterile.
Yeah. It never goes bad.
Yeah, everybody wants that.
Never coitals.
Everybody wants some.
One time he was at a restaurant in a Swiss hotel with women swarming around him asking for autographs. A man in the crowd asked Ruby for the secret of his success with women, and Ruby said, "If you're going to have a hot date, then jerk off in the afternoon so it takes you longer at night. You'll be a hero."
You'll be a hero.
Somebody watched something about Mary.
Yeah, yeah.
Golf champion Robert Sweeney Jr. sued his wife Joanne for divorce. He named Ruby as a co-respondent.
Cool.
He pursued another affair with Marion Reynolds. She was a former actress stuck in an unfulfilling marriage to R.J. Reynolds, the tobacco tycoon.
Oh my god.
This guy loves tobacco.
He fucking loves it, man.
Doing it for the free stogies.
Yeah, he's probably getting free.
Marion found that whenever they docked their yacht, Ruby would show up. When she was on her deathbed, she explained to her son Patrick why she had the affair. I was standing on the deck of one of the largest boats in the world.
was fucking bigger than this boat. And just threw a hole in her neck, she said.
His cock was bigger than the boat. You wouldn't fucking believe it.
I mean, this fucking thing was thick. I fucking love slobbing up and down that fucking knob. I mean, just letting this bit fly.
Suck our cocks, yeah.
I mean, just drooling on the, giving that thing the hawk to.
I love the hawk twa. The hawk twa has been going around.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up.
Jesus Christ.
They got Run DMC shirts that just say hawk to.
Jesus Christ. She tells her son Patrick, I was standing on the deck of one of the largest boats in the world, wearing a beautiful designer gown and some of the world's best jewelry. But I was a prisoner on that yacht because every night by 5, your father had passed out. And when Ruby kept calling me, asking me to dinner in the casino, by God, I went.
These drunk bastards.
They consummate their affair in Paris, but the relationship only lasted long enough for husband R.J. Reynolds to hire a detective and catch his wife in the act.
Cool. The detective probably loved it.
The affair made the news, reported by the popular gossip columnist Walter Winchell. Marianne and R.J. Son Patrick asserted that naming Ruby saved my father a couple $1,000,000 in the settlement.
Wow, and you know, every million counts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Walter Winchell, Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah.
Not great. We didn't start the fire documentary song. It's the only reason I know that name.
He was in New York at the Plaza Hotel when he ran into the Hungarian actress Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh.
She was fresh off the success of the film Moulin Rouge, directed by John Huston. They shared an elevator and exchanged pleasantries. Then Gabor went up to her room for a nap. When she woke up, her hotel room was filled with flowers.
Well, that sounds.
And she loved a pig. Wasn't she on Green Acres?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. Good work.
Pull, yeah.
The card read Don Porfirio Rubirosa, Minister Plenipotentiary of the Dominican Republic, to the most beautiful of women.
In French.
Mm.
That was not in French.
Oh. He wrote in French.
In parentheses.
Well, because he said it out loud to the guy. And the guy
dictated, but not read.
Gabor saw him in the Oak Bar that night. His dark eyes on me. He moved closer, but it did not touch me. A terrific magnetism emanated from this man, silent and restrained. She was already married to an actor, George Sanders.
Sorry, George.
But that didn't stop Ruby from sending her flowers, telegrams, phone calls over the next few months. And then in her autobiography, One Lifetime Is Not Enough, she recalled, we were like two children, pleasure-seeking. What? Hedonistic. like children. Perhaps spoiled and selfish. We were too greedy for life and too greedy for each other. Gabor had a daughter, Francesca, from her marriage to Hilton heir. She got to know Ruby. Even sitting in this elegant house, he would still prefer to eat nothing more than a big plate of rice and beans.
What? What?
It's such a crazy thing to say.
I know. It's so stupid and ignorant.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Trujillo would be like, take me to a great restaurant. No rice and beans.
Yeah.
You fucking simple fuck.
No, who's really flying the fucking Dominican flag then?
Yeah,
You know what
exactly,
I mean?
Yeah.
He really loved, the daughter said, he really loved my mother and wanted to marry her. He was also insanely jealous, and he had this mentality with my mother of, you are mine, I own you.
Cool.
George Sanders would eventually file for divorce from Gabor. He named Ruby as a co-respondent in his suit. Zsa Zsa started a gig at the Last Frontier Hotel in Vegas. Ruby showed up in Vegas and gave her an ultimatum, marry him or lose him forever. She was still torn about her feelings for Sanders, and she wouldn't agree to marry. Ruby was infuriated by her response and hit her.
Jesus
You
Christ.
can't do that.
The next morning, she showed up at rehearsals with an eye patch.
Oh my God.
She told reporters that
Sammy
she
Davis Jr. took my eye. It was a black eye.
Oh my God! Sammy wants his eye back.
It was a black eye. Black eye. Black eye. The Jew.
She told reporters that she'd left Ruby, and she said, the fact that he hit me proves that he loves me.
Oh,
A woman who has never been hit by a man who has never been loved.
Oh, dude, write that down.
Jesus Christ.
Let's take a little break there. and then
Tortured bumper stickers.
Right, yeah, dude. Tattoos.
Take a little break there. We'll be right back, folks.
Hey.
And we're back.
Hey, all right.
All right. So we unpacked that quote during the break a little bit because it's pretty hair-raising.
Now, what quote was that?
A woman who's never been hit has never been loved. But
And we decided it's true.
No, we did not. You're doing the residency at Vegas, so you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're trying to save face.
Ironically.
Matt, you mentioned she's trying to seem as not a victim.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of judo move the abuse.
Yes, and add to her mystique.
Right. It really puts it on the other women in the crowd. Like,
Yeah.
You guys ever been hit?
Yeah. But you don't even love your
Being in
husband.
your pants is cool, you know?
Yeah, consider me Miles Davis. Consider me Sammy Davis Jr. Wink, wink.
That's all I can do.
He was still pursuing Gabor when he met the Woolworths heiress, 40-year-old Barbara Hutton, at a polo game. She had also been down the wedding aisle 4 times before. She was showing signs of age,
Character.
looking increasingly gaunt and sickly.
Oh, and then he was just like, the little pig was like, let me in, let me in.
Oh.
In his memoirs, little pig, let me in.
Mm-hmm.
In his memoirs, he said he found her to be a frail beauty, someone who was smart, cultivated, sensible,
On death's door.
whose company I enjoyed more and more.
Well, at least he
The closer she was to death, the harder I got.
His friend Mildred Ricard heard a different story about their meeting. Barbara called him when he was at the bar in the Jaragua Hotel in Santo Domingo. She said, "You married Doris, now it's my turn." Ruby had just admitted to us that he was broke, so he said, "Okay, you set the date."
always broke.
Barbara's biographer, C. David Heyman, offered, "I think at this part of her life, this was the beginning of her true insanity." She was hooked on everything. She looked terrible and gone through a mental collapse.
Oh, hooked on everything?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Pharmaceutical grade stuff.
She
Yeah.
was hooked on a feeling. High on believing.
Yeah, very good.
Barbara and Doris Duke were friendly rivals. Perhaps Barbara thought she could outdo Doris by also marrying Ruby.
Mm.
A little millionaire plague,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, we can all fuck this guy.
Look what I got. Look what I got. Look at this fucking thing.
Yeah,
Shake
check
it
it out.
around.
Yeah.
Mine now.
Stir a glass with it.
Man, if they had smartphones back then, baby. Ooh.
Oh, dude, you need to fucking zoom out.
Yeah.
See that fucking hog.
Yeah, what's
Probably.
this? What is this, a Muppet? What the fuck
You
is
need
this?
one of those folds that fold open
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see the whole hog.
Yeah.
For him, it was simply a matter of business. They decided to marry in New York City at the Dominican consul's residence. But on the day of the wedding, all hell broke loose. Ruby wrote, "When I went to the Pierre to get Barbara, there were hundreds of newspaper photographers and reporters. As Barbara was coming down the stairs of the Pierre, she was shaking. They were forced to conduct a press conference on the spot. Her voice was strained. You would think that sometimes people would just believe I'm getting married because he sees something in me, but they always think it's the money. I have loved him ever since I met him." For the ceremony,
3 weeks ago.
Ruby wore the same jacket from his wedding to Doris. Barbara wore black and held a scotch and soda during her walk down the aisle.
Oh my
Nice.
God.
That was her parents were walking.
Yeah.
She wore black.
It's slimming.
The Dominican consul read the marriage contract in Spanish, and Barbara took Ruby's hand and placed his arm around her waist. They signed the contract, and she asked him, "Aren't you going to kiss me now?" Looking to get some press attention, Zsa Zsa was waving around the wedding photos, saying to reporters, "See how unhappy they look? I give them 6 months. In a couple of weeks, this man will be after me again."
He probably doesn't even hit her.
I got one bad eye and I can see this is bullshit.
For the honeymoon, the newlyweds chartered an 86-seat jet for a flight to Palm Beach.
And 50 seats just for his penis.
Half of them were first class.
Barbara bought her husband the second largest coffee plantation in the Dominican Republic. Only Trujillo's farm was bigger. She also gifted him with 40 suits, 20 pairs of shoes, 8 polo ponies, and just like Doris, a converted B-52 bomber.
No fucking way.
He had a fleet?
So this guy had, like, how are you broke when you've got so many ponies and fucking bombers and
the ponies cost money. Come on.
Okay, you're right, but you can sell them.
Yeah, they can make money. Yeah. They
Yeah.
can
You can pimp them out.
Breed them, yeah.
But there's
Pimp them out to British
they're
noblewomen.
they're his little ponies. He's a brony.
Yeah.
He's a jabroni.
Yeah. He's always embarrassing the ponies when he takes it out.
Oh God.
The B-52 he got from Doris, he'd actually just crashed a year after they got married.
No.
The B-52 he got from Barbara had even more luxurious amenities.
I could really use another
Like one of those spinning beds.
She also wrote him a check for $2 million in cash, $2.5 million in cash.
Fuck.
That would be $29 million today.
Jesus.
He should never have gone broke ever again.
No.
I don't think he can.
I mean, if he had just invested the $500,000
I
he
do
was
not
given.
think this guy can go broke.
Right, but he's always broke.
But yeah, because he spends.
Yeah. On what?
The ponies and the
ponies.
He crashed the B-52.
Yeah.
I lost my money on the ponies. In a different way.
Yeah.
His bank account had never been fuller, but he was unhappy. His memoirs say, the villa where we were staying became a clinic. Barbara did not follow her medical treatments. There was no honeymoon. A friend of Barbara's, Edith Rosenberg, said, I think he just walked away. She would fall, half the time could hardly walk.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He took off a few days after their honeymoon. He wasn't going to be cooped up with the windows closed and the blinds drawn. The socialite Brownie McLean quipped, one never saw him during the day, only at nightclubs. Only 2 weeks after getting married, Barbara moved to her aunt's house in Palm Beach. The marriage was dead in the water after 53 days.
Cool.
They were officially divorced on February 20th, 1954. She ended up spending about $66,000 a day on the relationship. In that time's money.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, pretty cool if you can do it, I guess.
Yeah. Got to spend money to make money.
Reporters got
Lose
Ruby
money.
on the record saying, I was a bachelor before marrying Barbara and very happy, but it was no good. She stays in bed and reads all day. It's a very boring life. He took the B-52 out to L.A. trying to win back Zsa Zsa.
He's buzzing the Capitol
Yeah,
Records
yeah.
building and shit.
It's like I worked for Hughes.
According to her, he decided that he wanted to become an actor, and I really think he was a big talent. Together, they chose the picture that would be his introduction to the movie audiences called Western Affair. The story was set in a small South Dakota town at the turn of the century where a bar owner, Don Castillo, competes with a French girl who owns a rival bar. It would involve all of Ruby's favorite things: boxing, shooting, horseback riding, and romance.
Coxmanship.
He gave up his nightlife carousing and devoted his energies to acting lessons. He'd practice his quick draw technique daily. Sadly,
Yeah.
just after the production started, the INS denied his permission to work on the picture, citing his total lack of previous acting experience.
I mean, he's been an actor his whole life.
There's tons of fraud actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's acting. I'm an actor.
He's been a method
Hey,
actor.
you're pretending to be a pretender. Get the fuck out of my country, you rice and beans. What a fucking you.
Western Affair was never completed. He spent time with Zsa Zsa and her daughter Francesca. He loved taking me to the magic shop in Beverly Hills. He loved things like pea shooters, dog do pieces made of rubber, and he loved racing his Ferrari 100 miles an hour around curves on Sunset Boulevard. He was
Check
like
out this fake dog poop.
he was like a big kid.
Whoopee cushion.
This is him with the slingshot having the time of his life.
What an idiot.
I can make the money disappear.
Watch me pull a snake out of this hat. It's my cock.
In Sebring, where I used to be nearby in southern Florida, he took part in a number of races. He entered the Grand Prix in Bordeaux, a Formula One race. He planned to drive his own Ferrari 500, but got sick before the race and couldn't compete.
Sick.
His heart would always be in Paris, so he returned to the city in 1956, and everything in his life changed. That May, he was at a polo match, and he met an aspiring actress who just graced the cover of Paris Match magazine, 17-year-old Odile Rodan. I fell in love with her the first moment I saw her. She was young, fresh, so beautiful, and again, a certain mysteriousness.
And how old is he? 50?
No.
He's 31 years old.
Okay.
Wait, really?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He's done all of this in like 7 years?
Fuck me.
Yeah, well, the one was only... That's her, Aaron.
God.
That.
Charming couple.
Odile didn't know that Ruby was famous, so when she mentioned meeting him to her mother, who was a teacher in Lyon, the response surprised her. My mother forbade me to go out with him and
She squirted all over the walls.
warned me that he was dangerous.
He crashed a plane.
Eventually, the mother would meet Ruby, and her resolve weakened after one slow dance with him. She allowed her daughter to see him.
The oldest trick in
He
the
dropped
French
a couple digits on the mom, I think.
Odile spent the summer of 1956 on the Riviera with the industrialist Paul Louis Weiler. She took her host Rolls Royce and the driver into Saint-Tropez and told him that she'd be back
Saint-Tropez.
Saint-Tropez, sorry. And told him that she'd be back by dinner, but she met a friend at the bar who said that he'd travel over by boat and he was staying in this Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat, being hosted by the wine barons, as was Ruby. Odile told the driver to go home, and she jumped in her friend's boat. Their trip through choppy ocean left her soaked. She arrived just wearing a bikini top and white shorts. She recalled, when I got to the house, I made quite an entrance for Ruby. I must have looked like Ursula Andress.
Yeah.
Ruby was thrilled, and the first thing he did was call and say that I won't be there for dinner.
Turns out.
After 3 days, Ruby's host sent the Dubonnays sent their Rolls Royce to the Weilers to pick up the rest of Odile's clothes. She and Ruby returned to Paris at the end of the summer, and they were married in October. Odile would say over the wedding, just as we were about to get in the car to go to church, Zsa Zsa Gabor called Ruby. I don't think she had any idea she was catching him just as he was about to get married. The age difference did not impede their happiness. Odile genuinely loved her husband, something he couldn't say about all of his former spouses. He was extremely controlling of his wife when it came to her personal style.
Oh, no way. Here.
Quote, he wanted me to be the opposite of Zsa Zsa. He would put me under the shower if my hair was too lacquered and bizarre. He also introduced her to designer labels like Balenciaga and Chanel. One of her friends explained, she was so beautiful, one of the sexiest women I've ever seen, but he made her dress conservatively, that Grace Kelly look. She would get around that by not wearing any underwear.
Well, good for her.
Ruby was named ambassador to Cuba in 1957, making Odile the youngest ambassadress in the world at 19 years old.
A good time to be like
Yeah.
Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
50s, right around at that peak, Godfather time.
Revolution kicks off, and Batista fled to the DR.
And it's over.
Odile said Trujillo was livid with Ruby for not giving him advance notice that Batista just showed up on the doorstep.
Well, he wasn't paying attention to Batista. He's trying to fuck all of his daughters or whatever.
But she said, but it's not like Batista asked Ruby for permission to land during a coup. After the coup, the Rubirosas moved in with the American ambassador to Cuba. Odile remembered that, quote, machine guns were going off everywhere and everyone was on the floor. It was raining bullets. Claude Terrell got a phone call from Ruby where he said, they are having a revolution. We have to go get my polo ponies out. My ponies! My ponies!
Fight him.
I guess call my wife, too.
It's been said that Castro was very taken by Ruby and fascinated by Trujillo. He questioned Ruby for hours on end about how Trujillo had remained in power for so many years. Trujillo offered Ruby a new post. It does. Trujillo offered Ruby a new post in either Argentina or Belgium. He chose Belgium so Odile could be closer to family. But Ruby was surprised when Trujillo forced him to trade his coffee plantation to him for some stocks that soon turned out to be worthless.
You idiot.
Odile said Ruby couldn't argue as the Trujillos had been awfully generous to him through the years.
Yeah.
The dictator genuinely needed the cash. His life was in constant danger while his political base was crumbling around him. Trujillo's motorcade was ambushed by 6 revolutionaries on the 30th of May, 1961, and he died from his injuries. He was succeeded by his son, Ramphis.
The first.
Yes.
3 months after that assassination, Ruby and Odile were vacationing in Hyannisport with the president, Mrs. Kennedy, Frank Sinatra, Ted Kennedy, Pat Kennedy, and Pat Kennedy Lawford.
Wow.
Ruby had first met Joe Kennedy, the patriarch, on the Riviera after World War II.
God, they're all fucking connected.
Yeah.
They all took the president's yacht, the Honey Fitz, out for a 3-hour cruise. Ruby was
3-hour.
Oh my God, did they get...
It's supposed to be
Sit right back and you'll hear a tale?
It's only a
A tale of a
cruise.
fateful trip? The Playboy, the
The president.
Yeah.
The Playboy, the president,
The
the
singer.
ingenue and the whore,
Yeah, the singer.
the gigolo and
JFK Gilligan.
the dick,
the fat drunk.
and Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Rubi was uncharacteristically focused on talking about business at the time. There had been a trade embargo on the DR ordered after Ramphis tried to have the president of Venezuela killed. Rubi asked JFK to support the new Trujillo regime and lift all sanctions. The German playboy Gunter Sachs said, quote, Rubi spoke and spoke to Kennedy. But when he came back to Santo Domingo to report on the talks to Ramphis, the asshole left the country with a boat full of banknotes and went to Spain. Rubi never talked to them again. Ramphis left the country.
Okay.
Yeah. Flor de Oro, the ex-wife, guesses that her half-brother took $200 million out of the country before fleeing to Spain. In 1962, the new Dominican president, Joaquin Balaguer, officially terminated Rubi's role as ambassador inspector of the embassies. He was unemployed at the age of 53.
Yeah, you know.
He'd lost his diplomatic immunity, leading to him being questioned by the New York district attorney about the disappearance of two Trujillo opponents, Sergio Buscame and Jesus Galindez, in 1956. He was never charged with any crimes. Rubi told a London Sunday Express writer in 1963, I said to Ramphis, you must support the new president and give back the things your father stole from the people. But he didn't have the guts, and he was out. He took his yacht and went to Paris, so I won't ever see him again in my life. He is not my friend. He betrayed me.
He didn't give me a B-52 bomber.
Yeah. After Trujillo died, Rubi had to start living like a poor person. He had spent all the money from his rich wives.
Jesus Christ, he had so much money.
He sold his house in the left bank for $400,000 to banker Edmund Rothschild.
Oh.
The Rubirosas moved to a village outside of Paris, and he seemed depressed, and his friends thought he'd lost his vitality.
He lost his mojo, just like the other international man of mystery.
No caramba.
He still drank heavily, but he'd stay in bed for...
Two nights.
That's
right.
exactly right.
One night in, one night, 2 nights in, one night out.
One day he tried calling several of his friends for a bocce ball around 4 in the afternoon, but they were all working and couldn't come out to play. He remarked to his wife, what, are my friends all of a sudden factory workers? To work would have been a nightmare for Rubi, she said.
He was a playboy. He wasn't
To
a
be
worker.
unemployed at 53, it means like early retirement.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, if he had saved his money in any sense at all, or invested it, or anything.
Some of his Paris friends claimed Rubi was considering returning to the life of a gigolo. Guy's a gigolo, man!
Yeah.
He knows the song.
He was considering marrying Peter Lawford's ex-wife Patricia Kennedy Lawford or Peggy Hitchcock, the heiress. Living without money was torture for him. Oleg Cassini estimated that in the 50s, his house servants, parties, polo ponies, and the annual rotation among Palm Beach, Deauville, and Saint-Tropez, and Gstaad must have cost about, or is it Stad? Must have cost about $2 million a year. He attempted to write his memoirs, but they were never completed. He was asked to be the PR man for a Florida hotel, but he didn't want to leave Europe. He tried one last big business venture with his buddy Gunter Sachs.
We're going to evacuate the pyramids.
He'd endorse a perfume line called Rubi. It'd be sold in ruby-colored glass bottles.
Oh.
Sure.
He took the trip to the factory in the south of France. Deal went nowhere.
Smelled like shit.
Yeah.
Around 5 years earlier, Rubi tried to market Pego Palo, an aphrodisiac derived from Dominican tree bark and herbs. It was marketed as a liquid Viagra, but Rubi ran out of money and couldn't keep the venture going.
Yeah, so
Give it up.
now he's just doing, like, bad medicine. Like, he's run out of...
Yeah, he's selling Trump steaks.
Yeah.
Selling reverse mortgages.
Yeah, he can't fuck his way into $2
Real
million.
estate in Alabama.
Yeah.
Taki was on his first honeymoon in June 1965.
Taki Theodoropoulos?
Yeah. Theodora Copulus.
Yeah. His first honeymoon.
Traveling to the Greek shipping magnate Stavros Niarchos' schooner Creole. The guests filmed their own...
That person would later go on to be with Paris Hilton. With that person's child.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Stavros Niarchos.
Yeah.
Huge shipping.
Yes.
Magnate.
The guests filmed their own version of the movie Goldfinger, with James Bond played by Rubi and Niarchos as Goldfinger, Taki as Oddjob, and Odile as Pussy Galore.
Oh my God.
He's an international man of mystery. It should have been Gold member. He got that fucking thing.
Got it wrong. He's got the fucking gold member.
Just paint it. They hired a plane to drop 3,000 tennis balls on the boat, but the wind blew the balls in the wrong direction. Gunter Sachs filmed the action from a small boat that ended up capsizing.
Oh my god.
Niarchos was too busy doing business on the teletype and didn't get his lines out. Rubi couldn't remember any lines at all. He was too drunk.
What year is this? They're probably all on cocaine.
Somebody's got to find this print.
This is 1965.
Oh, okay.
They should be on cocaine.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, Rubi's polo team won the Coup de France tournament, defeating Brazil. He rallied everybody to party at Jimmy's. Typically, Rubi planned. Yeah. Typically, Rubi planned ahead when he thought he was going to get too drunk to drive home. His friend said there was a man, Marcel, a taxi driver, who would follow us from place to place. If he saw we were in very bad shape, he would take the key from us and drive us home, and another man would follow in the car home. Apparently, Rubi almost never took out the Ferrari when he knew he'd be drinking, but on this occasion, Odile and her friends had been taking out their other car, the Austin Mini. Rubi was left to take the Ferrari into Paris. He'd written in his memoirs, "It's one of my fundamental principles. I would prefer risking everything instead of being bored."
Oh, no.
He was celebrating with his teammates in the early evening when his wife and her friends got bored and drove home. That night, Rubi had talked to her a few times about his fears of the future. He didn't want to become old. It was July 6, 1965, around 7 in the morning. Rubi and his gang left for the Calvados nightclub to scarf down some ham sandwiches and then get back to Jimmy's. One of his friends had hidden the keys under the carpet, but he came back from Los Calvados and found the keys. He took off and, while driving around 70 miles per hour, crashed his car into a chestnut tree around 8 a.m.
Oops.
Goodwood. Killed by Goodwood.
Oh, irony. That's what kept him alive for so long.
New York Times said, Porfirio Rubirosa, former Dominican diplomat, international sportsman, and playboy, died in an automobile accident here today. His powerful Ferrari sports car, traveling at high speed, jumped the curb and crashed into a tree on Avenue de la Reine Marguerite in the Bois de Boulogne at 8 a.m., according to the police. He was alone in the car. The 56-year-old Mr. Rubirosa died in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. The wooden steering wheel of the type used in racing competition had crushed his chest.
He survived by his giant cock.
He died within sight of two of his favorite recreation sports, the race course and the polo club. He was 56 years old. Langston Hughes observed, "So I have not seen in the colorful obituaries of the late Rubirosa in the American press any reference to race. He had been an American citizen by birth. The headlines probably would have read, if he had been an American citizen by birth, the headlines probably would have read, Negro Playboy dies."
Oh, my God. Langston Hughes, African-American writer.
Yes.
Yes, Harlem Renaissance.
Rubi's funeral was held at the house in Montlacoquette. He was mourned by 250 guests, including the Kennedys, Pat Lawford and Gene Smith. Gunter Sachs arranged the burial. After the service, Odile went to Hyannisport with the Kennedy sisters. She later remarried and retired to England, where she lives a private life. Rubi's legacy lives on across the dining world, where you ask a waiter for a giant pepper mill and you call it a Rubirosa.
Oh, that's good.
Give me that thing.
Give me
Hand me that fucking.
twist it.
Twist it. Crank it. Mop it. Oof. That was also suggested, a profile suggested and compiled, the research for by Laura Crawford.
Thank you,
Laura.
Great job,
Very
Laura. Thank
good.
you.
We love you.
Or out there just Googling famous giant
Big
cocks.
dick.
Yeah, big worms. Fucking tremors, dude.
Minus Dennis Rodman.
But yeah, I mean, what does this kind of lifestyle make you think of, Aaron?
A bygone era.
Yeah.
This is it. That's the right way to say this. That's seeming horrible. This is a life that is typically led by a young, beautiful woman.
But there's apparently quite a thirst to be quenched with
older, on death's door, rich women.
Well, no, they weren't all. That's not true.
No, it's not true. But it's
a lot of them. I mean, they're way more independent.
I think there's a cosmic order to things. Because if you give a young man the type of power that comes with being a young, beautiful woman, this is what happens.
Yes. I mean, what's the line between Playboy and Gold Digger?
Well, with him,
about 11 inches.
And thick as your wrist.
Boy. Yeah, I mean the guy's, and he also had the benefit of being a man, so that he could be a diplomat. So he had all the trappings of being a beautiful sex object, but also he had the benefit of being a man, and that he could have access to men in power.
Yeah.
So he got the best of both worlds, which really is not the best.
No.
And they are as seduced by him.
Absolutely.
It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The talks about the charisma. Charisma is the currency.
There is.
And making you feel like you're the most important person in the world and all that stuff, and everything becoming fun and magic when he shows up. That shit goes a long way with everybody, not just women.
Oh, no,
You're
without
absolutely-
question. No,
no.
people like a good time.
Yeah.
They prefer if someone shows up.
People want to feel
They're not
important.
a bummer.
Yeah.
You want to feel important, and people like being associated with a good time.
Yeah. Also that thing too where it's like they're all throwing themselves at him too. Like, a rising tide lifts all dicks. So like all those guys are going to get laid.
Yeah.
You know what I
They're
mean?
catching-
Like,
they're catching the fucking-
the
Right,
fallout.
the strays,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, shrapnel.
Mhm.
And it seems like you just have earnest interest in I buy it that he's interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's a male fairy tale.
Yes, very much.
Live fast, die at 56.
Yeah,
Like,
youngish.
You're not old, but
Yeah.
you're old
Yeah.
enough. Your best years are behind you.
Yeah.
You went out fucking a 17-year-old.
Jesus Christ.
You had people bought you bombers
Yeah.
and sports cars and horses.
Yeah.
It's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gifts being identical almost to her rivals, is very interesting.
Yeah.
With Doris and
Well,
They knew what he wanted.
that makes me. It's not as when I heard the first B-52, it was like, oh, that's a fun random thing, and maybe it was, but the second one, it's very much.
Yeah, they saw him in the bathtub playing with a model plane. Meow, meow, and they're like,
And then Godzilla smashes it with his penis.
They couldn't buy him a Godzilla, so
yeah, the Loch Ness monster comes out of the fucking tub.
it was this
But-
hog.
Yeah.
But I think there's like a through line through this that is like, with the beatings, he's also very controlling,
Yeah.
and also there's a lot of marriages with really rich women that clearly are not going to go anywhere, but he does it anyway because there's a payday in it. I think there's a lot of calculation to this guy.
Yeah.
And
Maybe I don't disagree, but also some of these guys, I've known guys like this
yeah, okay.
where they believe it in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah.
In the moment, sure.
But especially like powerful women when they're like, I gotta have it. I gotta have
Yeah.
it. And you're just like, oh,
Okay.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't really have a job.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, I guess you don't think that the abuse is something that is calculated. It's more like he's a child. He's not getting what he wants.
Yeah, I don't think the abuse is I don't think that most men who abuse women are doing it in a calculating sense.
No, I think they're doing it in a childish.
Sure.
And with some women, it can work to the men's advantage. But I think by and large, I don't think that the men are being like, you know what, if I fucking pop her in the face, she'll come back.
Yeah, she's not doing what I want her to do.
Yeah, it's that. I think that's what it is. I mean, it just so happens that sometimes with certain people who are victimized in that way, it works in a what would you call a favorable way for the abuser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like a crazy opulence sort of narcotic high.
Yeah, and
For everyone involved.
Yeah, I don't think Ted Bundy was being calculating.
I think he's being very calculating.
No,
He's
but
probably
no, what
the
I'm
most
getting at is that,
commercial.
like, I don't think that, like, him murdering all those co-eds was, like, a ploy to get women marrying him from jail.
No.
I just think that there's a byproduct to the abuse that sometimes they come back.
Yeah, I mean,
He's also hammered always.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
I'm not forgiving.
Hammered or hungover. He's also a man in the 1930s through
yes.
50s.
so. He's
Yeah.
given this range of power that is.
I think he's actually overhung.
His acceptability.
Oh, it's too hung.
But it does seem like he's like, I need money, and maybe he does love these women for the money, And then the moment that doesn't work out like he wants it to, then he has to kick them away and go find someone else for the money. And as he gets older, that seems to happen more and more. You know, he's the charm of the youth of this guy is as he gets into his 30s and 40s and 50s, that seems to disappear quicker.
For a lot of it, though, it's like he's just backed by this dictator regime.
Well, yes, especially after he loses Trujillo, then, you know, there's his piggy bank.
Sometimes you hit a woman so good, her father comes back to you.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Terrible soundbite.
But especially if they're a dictator.
It's not going on the board.
No, that's not. But he's a terrible person.
Yeah, two terrible people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Floor and him still kept hooking up, too, which is just nuts. Like, the magnetism of this guy is insane. Like, Zsa is still calling when when Odile picks up the phone.
Some people don't mind / like being treated like shit.
I mean,
attention is attention for some people.
Right.
Yeah, but
I mean, it doesn't sound,
some people have been in toxic
good.
relationships where they treat each other like shit, but they keep coming back to each other because, you know, just the energy's energy for some people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
but I think with this guy, a lot of people said like they were like, you know, they still keep his fucking picture when they're dying, and they say, "Oh, that was the happiest time of my life when I was getting cheated on."
Yeah.
Like there's some kind of like extraordinary magical charisma here.
And I was feeling something.
Yeah, and maybe the highs are so high that you can dismiss
A lot
the lows.
of, you know, some people that go to war, like the best times I ever had were when I was in the fucking foxhole with my brothers. You know, like it's just that amount of stimulation is addicting.
Yeah. So sometimes people who have terrible times together are stronger than people who don't have those.
Have milk toast nights in.
Yes.
Now, one of the interesting aspects here, to me, is there's still the desire to be successful in business because you know you don't have a job and you really are just a gigolo. But he still goes for the most childish things.
Yeah, it's not an earnest endeavor.
He doesn't know
Oh
business.
no, I think it might be.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how business
but
works.
if he really wanted to do an earnest business endeavor, he would have done it. Like, dude, if you give a 9-year-old the opportunity to go on a treasure hunt or invest in fucking, you know,
nylons.
Yeah.
But he likes fake dog doo-doo.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Check it out.
He is a kid.
It's not real shit.
He's
Psych
a child.
It is.
Yeah.
Ever since he was in his teens, like he's been backed in a childish way where he's able to do whatever he wanted.
Well, at
and
14,
it worked
this
out.
couple is like, we just got to have you.
Yeah. And he gets to be in Paris, and he's also the son of a diplomat. Like, I mean, they have a certain status in society.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his family was from by their very name, higher
Yes, right.
race / social order.
Yeah, exactly.
But
He was bred for it.
Yeah,
but they really were just at you know, I mean that was in the previous regime before the coup by Trujillo. So theoretically, they could have been the most out. You know what I mean?
But if you're raised in something, you're raised in, you know, you can get that mindset.
Yeah.
Of listen, man, you're not one of these fucking Indios. You're fucking Criollo, man. You're white.
Yeah.
Or you know, you're better than.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Better than.
it seems like in order for him, he lived a life that took a really specific upbringing to get to, and then he made the most of that path he took.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He rode the lightning. He rode the
Yes, he did,
momentum.
yes.
You know, after the train stopped,
Yeah.
he really rode the momentum out as
Yes.
far as he could, catching like a few, you know, boosts along the way.
Yeah.
Anytime the momentum was dipping, he caught another.
Well, do you remember in the episode we did with Joe, we were talking about that you know, fucking H-level aristocracy where you got to keep adding your name on to somebody because you're a count.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the Industrial Revolution and advancements just made that class diplomats. You know, it's like what's the thing? It's like I go to parties.
Yeah. I get paid to talk to people.
Yeah. And,
Schmoozing.
and to him, that was a thing. It's like, okay, for Trujillo, it was like, oh, okay, well, in Paris, you know, arguably the most important city on earth, this guy makes the Dominican Republic look amazing.
Right.
And then, so just have at it.
Right. Charming. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But there's not really any talk about him like
He's not negotiating any jobs.
No, there's no
He's not
industry
bringing
getting-
industry to
No.
the DR.
No.
He's not even bringing baseball bats.
No.
None of that. If he was very serious about the
Well, I guess
the goodwill
Yeah.
of the Dominican people, he would have brought baseball bats from the finest lumber yards in Europe.
yeah. And that
Baseball bats from Europe?
Yeah, the finest
From Europe?
the finest German maple,
yeah.
white ash,
From the Schwarzwald.
the Schwarzwald.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. If he was serious,
This is a guy who knew good wood.
Yeah. That's fair.
if he was serious about business, you're right. He would have made diplomat work.
Yeah,
He could have.
Bring industry
Yeah.
and just attach his name onto anything.
If he was serious about business, he could have taken $250,000 from his $500,000 check and put it into
anything.
in Volkswagen.
But that's why
At that time, yeah.
But that's why sunken treasure is attractive because
Yeah.
it's like I don't want to
wanna be
work.
bored. I don't want to be bored.
Well, I mean, that's a get rich quick scheme, like marrying a rich
and
lady.
working is boring, and I
Yeah.
will risk everything to not be bored.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's no conniving with the women insofar as like the legal things. He signs the prenups.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
is hammered, but
Yeah.
you're right. He
They just give him stuff.
yeah, you can still sign a prenup and make out like a bandit.
Yeah, exactly.
You
He
just
doesn't
make out like less of a bandit than you potentially could, depending on the jurisdiction that you get married in. But
Yes.
like
You never
during
got
the
married.
time you are married, you still get all this stuff, and then you still get a nice little nest egg afterwards.
Yeah, but he just blows through it.
it.
He
Yeah.
just blows through it.
Yeah.
He's it's that,
It's a sterile lifestyle.
well, it's just like, I mean, it really is no boredom.
Yeah.
He's like, no boredom. Drive the car as fast as it goes.
Mhm.
And then, obviously that kills you.
Yeah,
Let the
don't
dick
wear a
drive.
seatbelt.
Give
Yeah.
the dick the wheel.
Yeah.
Give the dick.
Hand the dick.
Penis, take the wheel. Penis is my co-pilot.
Yeah.
Is that a bumper sticker?
Yeah. Man. No word on the autopsy when they got to look at that thing.
That thing fucking detached itself and
Yeah.
attached itself to Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
We are Rubirosa.
I think it burst out of somebody's chest.
Oh, God. He went on to fucking took the first flight to the Nostromo.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed that story. It
Me
is,
too.
like you said,
The Latin lover.
Yeah.
the Latin lover, international man of mystery.
Modern Casanova.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that there's got to be a handful of guys like this during that time. In that, the areas pre and post war were so chaotic and full of corruption and wealth that there's got to be more guys like this.
Oh yeah.
That just, I mean,
Well, Laura
I mean,
has.
this guy is a benefactor, a beneficiary of nepotism. right?
Absolutely,
Like,
yes.
listen, I'm a dictator. I like having you around. It costs me nothing to keep you on the payroll.
And well, his dad was a diplomat
Yeah,
too.
you
so-
already know what this is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I put you on the payroll, some title. You go and have fun,
Yeah.
make our country look good. If you have time.
Yeah.
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 I just like having you you're on the payroll, man.
Mm-hmm.
You're a duke in some East Hampshire, like it. You're just a title, and it comes with money.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of one of the things about
the itinerant rich.
him being angry at Ramphis, robbing the country and taking off and saying he betrayed me. It's like that's kind of all you did.
Yeah.
You just took money from the country.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Yeah. Well, but he robbed it. I got paid to be this.
I mean, I guess there is a distinction there,
But
but
it's not a good one.
yeah, you wonder how actually like beholden to the DR he was.
Very.
No, it doesn't seem
I
like
don't think very either.
married a lot of American chicks.
Yeah, I mean, he did have sex with black actors and
Or the kid in Dorothy Dandridge,
That's cool.
which is very cool.
and but he only married
He never fucks Storm.
he only married Americans and French women. Aside from his first wife, who was obviously the dictator's daughter. But yeah, I don't know. You don't hear about him going back there too much. I think if you do, it's just because he wants to make an appearance.
Yeah.
And sort of.
There's not a lot going on.
Yeah.
compared to Paris or
Yeah,
Saint-Tropez or Brussels or.
And probably at that point in his life, he'd spend more time in Paris than he had in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Berlin. There's a lot more going on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all very, very interesting. You're right. It's a very particular time and place.
Yeah.
And he bounces through it.
Cuba's popping off.
Dude, Nazi Germany.
Weimar, Berlin, into Nazi Germany, into Paris, the Vichy government.
Yeah. He hangs out with the Kennedys and fucking then JFK's dead like a little while later. It's like, what the fuck?
It's it's just one of the most. You could say there are more turbulent times in the world. There are more interesting times that things are going on in the world. You could say, oh man, like fucking 700. This shit's going on here in Mongolia and in Rome and in fucking England. And you could say all this stuff. But like, yeah, but you can't get there in a day.
Right. Yeah. Right.
From 1930 to 1960, like millions of people started flying on airplanes.
Yeah.
And you could get to one end of the globe in a couple of days.
Yes.
Even if you took a steamship, like you could get places quicker. So like that might have been like just a peak time for guys like this to exist.
Yeah.
Where like there's so much turbulence going on in the world, and you can get from point A to point B in a night or two.
And then think about this as well. It's the closest.
And there's antibiotics.
It's
Yes.
Yeah, and you're sterile. It's the closest thing in this social bracket, especially with the diplomatic things at your disposal, to having a smartphone in that time. A telegram can just go to whoever you want.
They'll get it to you.
Whenever.
They'll send a raven.
And then it'd be like, I'll send a plane, or I'll, like I'm coming, like, that thing of like telegrams.
You got
like,
a guy named Marcel.
They just they can get a guy to just come to your door and be like, here's what she said.
Yeah.
And you're of such importance that everybody knows where you are at all times. Like
You can be found.
Yeah, you can be found.
You're popular.
Yeah.
Everybody knows where you are because everybody wants to know.
Yeah. And you want them to know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
a good point.
And then you can find, the
original smartphone, a guy.
a guy with access.
Yeah.
And that means you can also find,
Young Poon.
Well, I'm saying people without as much access because you have it.
Yeah.
It's not just rich women finding you.
Yeah, you can find a stamp seller.
You can find, the cute girl, It's like, find out who she is.
Yeah.
It's diplomatic business. I think she's a spy.
She's spying on this dude.
I'm going to do a full body cavity.
But also, you don't really need to go looking for anybody because everybody's coming to you.
Yeah.
It's fascinating shit.
Yeah, it's a good story. It's a good time. It's an interesting, very, very interesting
time. Yes.
If anybody's got any other suggestions of cats like this.
Yeah. Well, Laura does have another one. Maybe could spin into a three-way because she said
A three-way?
Well, I don't know if it's enough for. She was trying to do 2 in 1 this episode, 2 different Playboys. So there is more guys like this. You're correct.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see where that goes. How much there's there on this other cat.
Cool.
But I think we'll do something with it. And thank you again, Laura. We love you.
Thank you, Laura.
I think that's it, gentlemen.
Great story.
Fantastic.
Yes. Thank you, Laura. Again, it's very, very, very fun.
And next time you're in a fine dining establishment, ask for a Rubirosa.
Yeah. Just feel like, oh, God.
Oh, let's slap it on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Donk.
Balance the table on it.
Oh, God.
God.
All right, gentlemen. I'm going to say goodnight. I love you. My name is John Fahey.
I'm Aaron Pita.
Pepper soap.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos. Doggone it. My name is Johnboy. I am your host, John Francis Fahey. Joining me, as ever, is the Prince of Perversion, Aaron Joseph Pita.
Recently knighted.
Yes.
Sirloin of
Circumcision.
that was good.
Yeah, and it was botched.
Yeah.
And it was a botched circumcision.
Good.
Tasty.
It's bad. It's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's,
Looks like Frankenstein's forehead.
yeah. Dude,
And then his monsters.
Yeah, it's got bolts in the neck.
looks like the bride of Frankenstein's hair.
With a shock of white.
Ooh. Shock of white.
Now, who's that over there?
Over there is the Duke of Dick.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
The Duke of Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's handsome Matt Brousseau.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Sultan of Smut.
Yeah, I like it.
Colossus of Cock.
Yeah, glosses of loads.
Cock losses.
We did a special little thing here. We decided to after my Rubi profile.
Rubirosa.
Yeah, Porfirio Rubirosa.
Playboy.
To dial in on these Playboys. Because after we finished the episode, you were like, "Oh, there's a lot of these guys."
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
And Laura Crawford, of course, did the research for mine and for Ruby as well. And at first, that was going to be a twofer. So I have the other guy, the friend of Ruby's, that I'll be doing later. But we're gonna kick it off here.
Let's kick it off with little guy I learned a little bit about. Another one of these.
Playboy.
Basically the same type of guy. Not
Good guy.
I wouldn't say as as extravagant of a lifestyle or as famous, but very, very similar. This is Don Alfonso Cabeza de Vaca y Leighton Caravajal Yare Conde de la Mejorada Marquis de Portago.
Wow.
Jeff to his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that short for?
He went as Fawn to his friends.
Okay.
It was,
As Fawn?
yeah.
Okay.
Alfonso.
Yeah.
Alfonso Portago was born in London in 1928.
Foggy London town.
He was educated at Biarritz in France. He was born to a noble Spanish family. He gained the title of the Marquis de Portago. Like I said, he spent much of his early life in France and Spain. He was he became articulate in 4 languages. Spoke English with a distinctive British accent, and he was heir to the title in Spain, his Spanish noble family. He was a millionaire as well. Among his ancestors were explorer Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca. You may know he marched across Mexico, forming an army along the way, and then started killing a bunch of Indians.
Jesus Christ.
His father was Antonio Cabeza de Vaca, 10th Marquess of Portago, who died after a polo match while taking a shower.
Oh.
I'm not playing polo, Alfred.
Kind of a Mr. Hand situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was showering with the horse.
His paternal grandfather was Vicente Cabeza de Vaca, the 9th Marquess of Portago, mayor of Madrid.
Oh, wow.
And the president of Puerta de Hierro, which was a very exclusive country club. His grandfather was a prolific golfer, etc. His mother was named Olga, and she was an Irish nurse.
Olga, the Irish nurse?
Olga Leighton.
Ah.
That's
Look at you.
That's the E. Leighton part of the last name.
Got it.
He was uniquely gifted as a youngster. He was an athlete his whole life. He wasn't a big man, not a particularly muscular guy, but he had wiry strength,
Yes.
great endurance, freakish eyesight,
Really?
and a quickness of reaction that was legendary amongst his friends.
Good for athlete.
Catching flies.
Yeah, with chopsticks or whatever
Yeah.
Spanish people use.
You're Spanish. You should know.
Works. He developed a passion for sports, particularly the equestrian activities.
Yeah. These guys are always polo guys.
Yeah, polo, and then also steeplechase. And later motor racing and bobsledding.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. You'll find out. His father, like I mentioned, was the Marquess of Portago. Also a prolific gambler and one of Spain's best golfers. He once won $2 million gambling at Monte Carlo Casino.
Oh, boy.
The previous king of Spain, Alfonso XIII, was his godfather. At 17, Alfonso won a $500 bet and almost lost his newly acquired pilot's license by flying a plane under London Bridge.
Oh, boy.
Jesus.
And that thing is falling down.
Yeah.
It's falling down.
Yeah.
Falling down.
Yes.
I keep hearing that.
Yeah.
And he twice entered the Grand National, which is a horse. It's a very famous steeplechase.
Okay.
As a gentleman rider, which is like amateur.
Oh, okay.
Like I was saying, amateur.
I'm just a gentleman.
Yes, amateur.
Some friends maintain that he sharpened his reflexes by having them throw knives at him, and he'd catch them all by the handle.
Fuck.
Funk, funk, funk,
Oh my god.
funk.
Damn.
That's if you didn't catch this. The space work was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's lost on the audio only.
I think they could feel it.
Yeah. Then,
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm closing my
Is that
eyes.
better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really worked.
Aye. You missed. One party trick he had was to juggle raw eggs and not crack them. And another,
What a party.
And apparently he was adept at sleight of hand, prestidigitation, close-up magic.
yes, I love prestidigitation.
One former girlfriend described to an interviewer in a magazine that his spectacular sex life was, quote, fully acrobatic.
Woo!
Back
He was probably
handspring.
doing those anal acrobatics.
Dude,
Yeah.
the anal acrobats, I mean, I'll tell you what, they're not quitting before the final match.
No. And there's no one's complaining of juicing.
No.
No, they're not complaining about it.
but it's going on.
What's going on?
Nobody complains.
1953 New York Motor Show, Ferrari importer Luigi Cinetti invited him to the Mexican Carrera Panamericana, which means Pan American race. Fawn recalled to a reporter that involved sitting next to him while he drove. I was terrified. Their Ferrari 340mm failed on day 2, but he was hooked on the thrill
Yeah.
of driving.
Just like Ruby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah.
You going fast
Polo, fast cars, sledding.
And Ferraris.
Yeah.
and throw knives.
Yeah.
Fawn bought a secondhand Ferrari 250, which they co-drove in the 54 Buenos Aires 1,000 kilometer and Sebring 12 hours. After that, he got a Maserati A6 GCS, followed by I'm sorry, and a Maserati. And now he was getting real good at the old heel toe. You ever see the driving shoes?
No.
You've seen them, but people are wearing them for fashion. The heel, like the sole, goes up and back around the heel, so you see like the tread on the heel.
Yes.
It's so that you can do the gas brake clutch
Oh, really?
in a.
Oh, because it's resting on the floor.
Yeah,
Yes, I see.
you know, you see all these fucking weird Euro tools wear them. You know,
Yeah.
when they're not wearing their Pumas
Yeah.
or Adidas,
Mm-hmm.
they're wearing these weird like fossil driving shoes.
Yeah,
or
you know all
something.
that heel to toe shit.
Ferragamo,
Awesome.
heel to toe, like ass to mouth.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. These are ass to mouth shoes.
That's my ATM shoes.
So at Le Mans, he led the 2-liter class before retiring his leg and then scored his first road racing win at Metz. His mother then bought him a sports car, OCSA. I have no idea what that is. And he took to the German Grand Prix at Nürburgring, where he met Maserati's driver, Onofre Marimon, and who crashed and died. He thought he was very shaken of this because he was a friend of his, and
Fuck.
he still raced the next day
In his honor.
in his honor, but he crashed and
In
was
his honor.
scooped up into an ambulance. He was really pissed off about that, so he beat the driver, dumped him in the back, and drove back to the paddock with the seat with his ass hanging out of his pants.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
He beat up the ambulance
Yeah,
driver?
he thought, give him a little whomp on the head, a judo chop.
Yeah. Judo chop.
That night later, found him at the casino at Bad Neuenahr. You know where that is?
No.
Bad Neuenahr,
No.
where his bruises were developing nicely, and he won he won $10,000 gambling, which he invested in a new sports racing Ferrari Monza, which he shipped to Mexico for the Carrera.
Wow.
In the Bahamas Speed Week at Nassau, he then won 2 races and placed second in a third. Enzo Ferrari noticed him,
Oh, really?
and he's like, this guy can drive my cars. And so he was allowed to order a Ferrari 625 F1 car for the 1955 season. And while training in May of that year, he understeered into the bank of the track and broke a leg.
Oof.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
Let's see.
Doesn't happen with horses.
No, because when the horse breaks a leg, you shoot it.
Yeah.
Some womanizing here and there. Not too bad. Apparently he was a bit of a teetotaler.
Ah.
Maybe not totally teetotaled, but really was not an imbiber of alcohol.
Right.
But he did love to gamble, party, steeplechase.
Sure. I guess
Better.
it's easier to juggle eggs if you're not drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and catch knives.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can try.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
In 1956, he enlisted his cousins to help represent. Well, he created Spain's first bobsledding team for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they missed the bronze by like a quarter second.
No way.
Yeah.
That's nuts. The first time?
Yeah, dude, cool runnings, eat shit. You know?
Yeah.
That's a phrase I never thought we'd say.
Yeah.
Make it drop. He lived on Millionaire's Row in Paris, 40 Avenue Foch.
Mm-hmm.
You know where that is?
No.
Me neither. Like I said, he didn't drink very much, but he obsessively played pinball in his favorite cafe bar
Oh, really?
with his goal just to win free games and play all day.
Wow.
I mean, that's a
I bet he
dream.
was really good at it.
Yeah.
Well, the reflex thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, an acrobatic sex life. Gregor Grant, the editor of British weekly Autosport magazine, said that a man like Portago appears only once in a generation, and it would probably be more accurate to say only once in a lifetime. The fellow does everything fabulously well. Never mind the driving, the steeplechasing, the bobsledding, the athletic side of things. Never mind being fluent in 4 languages. There are so many other aspects to the man. For example, I think he could be the best bridge player in the world if he cared to try. He could certainly be a great soldier, and I suspect he could be a fine rider. Like I said, he found his calling as a race car driver. He signed with Ferrari after Enzo was like pretty nice. He's actually in the Ferrari movie. Portago's in it.
Oh, yeah?
Somebody portraying Portago.
Oh,
is
really?
in it, yes.
In the newer one.
Yeah, the Michael Mann Ferrari motion picture.
I got to see that. I got to see both of them.
He was famous for his daring driving style. I think they would call him a 2-car driver because he put so much wear and tear. His abrasive, high-risk driving style put a toll on the brakes, the clutches, and the transmissions that it took more than one car to finish these races because he's doing these long races.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow, did we fucking shit out halfway through the race?
Yeah, I mean, he's really...
He's gunning it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just, the cars weren't what they are now.
Yeah.
And
he's
these
going
guys
for
are just
it.
like in open tops with leather hats and goggles,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the roads are probably rougher.
And then, like, again, in the kind of reflex regard, then, like, your speed and accuracy and all that is like you kind of know the moves you can make
with the equipment you have.
in like a split second. So I could see that bearing a toll on the car.
Yeah, when he when he broke his leg, he was he hit a patch of oil at 140 miles an hour, and he was thrown out of the car.
Holy
and that's when he
shit.
broke his leg.
He's even good at crashing.
Dude, he drove Formula One.
Oh God.
He competed in 5 World Championship Formula One Grand Prix
Jesus.
prizes.
Yeah.
He earned a podium finish in 1956, getting 2nd place. By the way, he's 27 at this point.
Wow.
He was a precocious philanderer, they say, popular with women, and as he was unpopular with fellow drivers who saw him as arrogant and fucking all their girls.
Yes.
We got a picture of him. We got a few pictures of him.
Okay.
Looks like a real what you think of when you think of a Spaniard guy. A Spaniard.
Yeah.
Not, you look at me, you don't think that. You look at this guy, you go,
Yeah.
he's got that thick black hair. He's got that face. He kind of looks like the Matador guy from a Punch-Out. He's always had a cigarette dangling from his lip.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
He's the fat guy behind.
yeah.
Okay.
And like he's doing something there. He's got that thick black hair.
Yeah.
Always gone back. We got more. We got a couple more. Yeah, look at him there.
Look at that kerchief.
Dude, the kerchief is like so choice as a race car
Matches
driver.
the car too. Yeah.
Yeah. Very live.
Yes.
Guy.
Yes.
Could have been a matador. Surprised he wasn't.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Maybe he was, and we don't even know.
Who's to say?
What do we got next here? That's him with the very
The SIG and the goggles.
SIG dangling from his lip. Very typical outfit of a race car driver at the time. The shoddy helmet.
Very handsome man.
Very handsome guy. And the goggles and the whatnot. Maybe we have one more.
He looks like he looks like a fucking like a little bad boy.
He is a little bad boy.
Hey, he's kissing this lady.
Now that would be well. We'll get to the lady.
Okay.
So when he was 20, he married Carol McDaniel, a former model who he barely knew, who was several years older than him. They had 2 children together.
Jesus.
And then he
barely knows her.
Well, yeah, but he knows her enough to make a child.
He tried to divorce her very soon after, so he could legitimize a Mexican marriage certificate to Dorian Lay, a fashion model, 11 years a senior.
Oh.
And then there was a third lover, which is the woman in this photograph. This would be the last woman he would ever kiss. At the Rome checkpoint of his last race, he stood on the brakes, locked everything up, waited for this woman, kissed her, and held her in his arms until an official told him to move the fuck on.
We got a race here.
The woman in question was Mexican actress Linda Cristian, ex-wife of actor Tyrone Power.
No way.
Who had switched from the man who played Zorro on screen to his real-life incarnation, Alfonso.
Wow. It's not just acting anymore.
So,
wow.
So this photograph would be known as Il Bacio della Morte. My Italian's not so bueno.
Got it.
If this was Spanish, it'd be
I know you'd be
B minus.
You'd be yeah.
Il Bacio della Morte, the kiss of death, because this would be the last kiss he would ever get from a man, woman, or anything.
Horse.
This would. This was during the 1957 Mille Miglia race, a grueling road race in Italy. While driving a Ferrari 335S, he suffered a fatal crash that not only claimed his life and that of his co-driver, Edmund Nelson, but also led to the deaths of 10 spectators.
Oh! God damn it.
Because they're
certainly more injured.
they're not. They're standing pretty close, right?
I don't know. I mean,
I wouldn't be.
I mean, I don't think you had to. We'll get to it.
Okay.
It's an Italian open road endurance race over 1,000 miles, hence Mille Miglia. An uncharacteristically nervous Portago worried if it was too dangerous to run such a long course when it was impossible to know every corner, even with a navigator. You know, so many of these, the race car drivers, they can run tracks with their eyes closed.
Right.
You know, they just know the timing down. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the reflexes. They compared reflexes from like a F1 driver and like an NFL cornerback.
Yeah.
And like, it's out of the...
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, we should pull that up on the Patreon.
Yeah.
And they'll also show videos of them driving simulators with their eyes blindfolded.
Yeah.
And they're running it perfectly because they know every turn, they know every bank, they know where, like, downshifting and all, and it's incredible. So these long open road endurance races, it's impossible to know every turn and corner. Yeah, even with the navigator. So he was pretty nervous, but he went on with it, and he was in third place, and he was going 150 miles an hour on a straight road in Lombardy when a tire exploded on his Ferrari.
Oh, shit.
The car cannoned over a canal, ricocheted back, and killed 9 spectators, his co-driver Nelson, and Portago himself. A concrete milestone was gouged from the road by the car and thrown into the crowd, killing 2 children.
Oh, my God.
His own body was found beneath the Ferrari in 2 separate sections.
Oh, wow.
In later interviews, Linda Cristian, the woman who gave him this kiss of death, you stupid fucking bitch.
Jesus. Come on.
I'm just kidding.
What is that, Spanish?
Yeah, this is what the fucking beat. In later interviews, Linda Cristian remembered the moment almost like a premonition. She said, I had a strange sensation with that kiss. It was cold, and it caused me to look for the first time at Nelson seated behind him. He seemed to be like a mummy, gray, ashen, as if mesmerized. He had the eyes of someone who had suffered an enormous shock. The Kiss of Death photograph was published in the days following the race in the newspapers. Life magazine gave fame to the photograph after it was published in its May 27th issue under the title, Death Finally Takes a Man Who Courted It.
Wow.
His legacy lives on as a reminder of the perilous nature of motorsport and the continuous efforts to improve safety in the sport.
Yeah.
Mainly having a top to the car,
That'll do it.
tires that don't explode off, and a whiff.
Yeah.
A good steering wheel.
Oh my God. 2 children?
Yeah.
From a stone kicking up?
From a stone? Yeah.
I mean, a milestone. So
Yeah.
like, you know,
yeah, sure.
like basically
Big,
a
yeah.
tombstone size
Yeah,
thing.
you're right.
Another one of these fucking guys dies in a Ferrari.
Yeah. Speaking of tombstones, I visited Tyrone Power's tombstone, and it's in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And he was, I believe, according to
Scotty Bauer?
Scotty Bowers, a doo-doo queen.
Is that right?
I believe he was into the.
Do you think that Alfonso...
Caca,
the scat?
Yeah.
He's a bit of a scat man brother. Do you think that Portago tasted a little poo-poo on her mouth?
It could have.
And he was like, somebody fucking kill me.
He could have thrown him off. Could have thrown him off. And it might have been why the other guy was looking like he was shocked.
Like, shit.
Very, very nice, Aaron.
Thank you very much.
It's very, very kind of beautiful in a way. It's
I mean,
haunting.
he was 28.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Horses.
Yeah, I mean,
bobsled,
so yeah.
These guys.
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
fast.
Crazy.
They just, they love the fucking, I don't know. I guess it's just like the hobbies you get into when you're wealthy and have a long name.
Yeah, you're not, when you are born wealthy, you're not playing a lot of pickup basketball games.
It's not a lot of handball courts.
No, he also
maybe.
was an exceptional highlight player.
Yeah,
Of course.
of course.
Of course.
Yeah,
Highlight.
These are the rich games.
Yeah. Or like,
Miami.
Miami.
Yeah,
Miami,
exactly.
Yeah.
Highlight. Those balls go fast.
Yes, they
They
do.
do, but he can handle it.
He could.
Pinball wizard.
Come on, dude.
Sure plays a mean pinball.
Mhm. Matt, what do you got for us?
All right.
Can I get another one of these?
Yes. We have this episode brought to you by Bud Light Chelada.
Con Camaro.
Now it's in a
Con
12-ounce can, so it doesn't have to get all warm, and you don't have to be reminded of how warm the clam piss in it is.
Right.
But it's a nice, tasty beverage.
It's got a little bit of the tomato.
It's got a little bit of tomato. Like we said, it's usually a breakfast drink for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, the guys at the liquor store by my work at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
buying 2 of the tall boys.
I told you about that one guy that came to work with me, and he was just nakedly doing it at like 8 a.m. And then he was telling me about how he used to sell Coke to a guy that was paralyzed from the neck down, and
Yeah,
and he would have
that's
to get out
right.
the little straw for him on the little plate, and he would have to hoover it. He'd have to let the guy
Boof him?
Can you imagine paralyzed from the neck down and just fucking yayed out of your mind?
No, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, what else are you going to do?
See, yeah.
Dude, can you imagine? God, I guess you can still talk, but
He's like
somebody jerked me off
yeah.
for 6 hours.
Yeah, the nurse is going, whatever, fuck it.
Fuck it, man.
This is like the first conversation I had with the guy too.
Well, you get 24. Well, you get 48 ounces of Clamato in the morning.
Yeah, loosens you right up.
Yeah.
48 ounces.
Dude, 2 of the tall boys.
It's got to be 24. Oh, but he had 2. You're right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, oh, man, did I ever tell you about it? It's like, you never told me anything.
We've never
Pours these
talked about
fucking- he pours his big old cheladas into a big gulp.
Puts a little Coca-Cola Slurpee on top.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, what do you got?
Well, what I have here is a professional Playboy of sorts. Because I was looking up because I was gonna try to do a lady. It's really tough to search for female Playboys.
Yeah. You get a whole other search
Yeah,
result.
but then I remembered I had one that was recommended after Caress Crosby, and then I was like, okay, that should be a fully. And Laura was nice enough to point me in this direction. He was born May 9th, 1914, Jacksonville, Florida. His father was the president of a broom factory and later an ice and milk company. So I guess almost ice cream.
It seems like you always have a guy from a broom factory.
Yeah, I had a guy from a broom factory.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
Kellogg.
yeah.
It used to be big business, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How else would you get dirt out of your place?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Electric fan?
Yeah. The kids blowing on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting rags on the kids' feet. Dance.
This is mainly from there's the info on this guy is kind of all over the place because at some point most of everything about him is there's actually someone says his life is a myth just because there wasn't a lot most of his life comes from stories other people tell.
Yeah, that's how a lot of these guys are too, because it's wealth and access and people don't have it, so a lot of these things happen behind closed doors and they're said just by other rich people.
Right.
We're supposed to believe it.
Which honestly, most of history is just like how people telling, hey, you hear this?
Yeah, so there was like a bunch of things I had to piece them together, but mostly comes from Arthur Vanderbilt and Cecile Paul writing about him. As a teenager, his father sent him to D.C., where a relative got him a job working for the corporate arm of Safeway. At some point, he left there to go to New York City. And that's like the guaranteed stuff we know.
All right. Worked at Safeway.
Yep.
Went to New York City.
Because sometime in the early 1930s, around 1934 when he's 20, through a roommate in New York City who worked at the Manhattan bookstore, he meets the best-selling author Glenway Westcott.
Now, what did Glenway write?
Well, he won the Harper Prize in 1927 for his novel The Grandmother.
Oh.
And in his time, he was as famous as Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Wow.
He was part of the Cafe Society of Expats in Paris after World War I.
Okay.
And he knew all the great writers, and he was openly gay himself.
Oh.
And Denny starts visiting him, Denham, going by Denny, and he starts visiting Westcott because he's an interesting character, and he's got a lot of worldly smarts. And so Denny eventually gets around to asking him, he says, "You know everything. I want you to tell me, how does one manage to get kept?"
To become a kept man.
Yes.
Oh, like taken care of.
And
Yes.
and zip.
Yes. So, exactly. To be patronized. And Westcott says, "You must never use that word kept. Think of something you want to do that takes money to learn. Then ask someone for help and guidance. You'll get much more money that way than by coming at it straight on." And so he kind
Appeal
of
to the ego.
he teaches him how to move through this society and play this sort of game. And so he spends the next year or two working at it. It also helped that he was beautiful. Everybody was obsessed with him as soon as they saw him. He described thin as a hieroglyph. He had dark hair, light brown eyes, and a cleft chin. I'll pull you up this picture of him. Here he is sleeping.
Oh, he's a pretty boy. Look at him, just sleeping like a little angel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very good looking.
And here's...
Oh, wow. Yeah, tremendously handsome.
Yes. And probably maybe bisexual, but definitely gay.
Okay.
Well, when you're rich, you can do that. They let you.
In Paris? Come on. It's going down.
It's called gay Paris.
Yeah, that's right.
According to Westcott, Denny was, quote, absolutely enchanting and ridiculously good looking. He had the most delicious body odor.
Ooh, come on. That's nice.
Like a fine Roquefort.
Westcott said he stole a handkerchief from him once, just so he could...
Oh, huff it.
Denny used his looks to become a regular patron, a regular of high society in New York City. Jimmy Daniels, a Harlem Renaissancer and nightclub singer, was one of Denny's patrons and said about Denny, he was the most beautiful boy anybody ever seen. His skin always looked as if it had just been scrubbed. It seemed to have no pores at all. It was so smooth.
Oh, that's nice.
That's funny. I saw a license plate the other day. I took a photo of it. I forgot to send it to you guys. This one kind of threw me for a loop. I'm gonna just show it to the camera here. I'll show it to John first. What does that say there?
I love your boy.
Proud Navy mom.
Oh.
I love your boy.
I love your boy.
Okay.
That's kind of awesome.
I love your boy.
I love your boy.
Yeah.
Your boy.
And your boy loves me.
I hope it could be I love you, our boy.
Yeah.
Could be that.
Uh-huh. Now, it wasn't long before being a part of this high society that Denny was swept away to Europe by a German baron. And I'm not sure exactly when, but it probably was around this time that Denny also became while he was in Germany, a frequent companion of Wolfram von Richthofen, the brother of the Red Baron and Field Marshal of the Luftwaffe.
Oh.
Wow.
One of the articles said he was kind of apolitical.
Okay.
Not the Baron, but Denny.
Yeah. You don't want to get into that if you're trying to get kept.
You have no opinions on Paul.
No.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't understand him. I have smooth skin.
Teach me.
I have a smooth brain. I have smooth skin. And I give good brain.
At some point, Denny and the Baron got into a quarrel, and Denny skipped town, hitchhiking down to Venice. While hitchhiking, he was spotted by the chauffeur of a Greek shipping tycoon. Chauffeur stopped and picked up Denny with the limo and brought him to the tycoon. No phones in those days. The chauffeur just needed a really good eye, you know? And so from there, he spent all his time with the Greek tycoon.
Are you not saying the name for a reason?
No one knows the name.
It's not Nyarkos.
I was going to say, yeah.
There's probably more. Who knows how many Greek shipping?
Yeah, exactly.
tycoons.
How many, like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're a seafaring nation.
they are.
There's got to be at least two.
Mediterranean access.
I mean, cradle of democracy.
Sure.
Noted anal sex enthusiasts. I mean, everything's checking out here.
Yeah. And so he spent a lot of time on the yacht until Denny fell in love with a sailor on the ship.
I love your boy.
Oh.
And he and the sailor raided the tycoon's safe and jumped ship, eventually reaching the Quisasana Hotel in Capri, which was a well-known queer haven at the time.
Oh,
Nice.
Now, they didn't sink with all the jewels and stuff?
It was mostly cash.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's the Fire Island of the Mediterranean.
Capri.
And the sailor left when they ran out of money, and Denny would spend his time sitting around Capri in his finery to try to pick up other patrons.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, a hotel.
When you're rich and good-looking, they're called patrons.
Yes.
When you're a hustler on the streets, they're Johns.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. It's legal when they do it. Eventually, the hotel would have Danny arrested for lack of payment. But as he's being dragged out the lobby by police, in walks Evan Morgan with his wife. And Morgan tells the cops, "Unhand that handsome youth, he is mine."
Oh, my God. In front of his wife?
Yes.
Holy fuck.
God, man.
Yeah, he was married twice, but he died alone. Here's a...
Who did?
Evan Morgan. Evan Morgan.
He was married, but he died alone.
He died alone.
He had an interesting house. We'll get to that in a second.
Man, it would have been interesting to see Denny go to jail, though, see how he was kept there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. This ain't Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, my
You get that
God.
smooth skin. Your
Yeah.
gums are going to be smooth.
Oh, my God, no. So Morgan pays Denny's bills, and he brings him along on this grand tour he's on with his wife. They're in the middle of. They eventually make their way to China, where Denny develops an opium addiction, and Tibet, where he learns archery. Some of the memories you make along the way.
I bet opium makes you so good at archery because you're just like, your heart beats like barely. It's not like,
Yeah, your hand is super still.
yeah. As long as you're on the heroin.
Yeah.
Or as long as you're on opium.
Well, those are all good points.
Went to China, got really into opium. Went to Tibet, got really into archery.
Mm-hmm.
What a life.
God, it's so cool.
Yeah.
So I should be in jail right now.
Now, in May of 1934, Morgan's father, so this is still at 34, he's 20 years old right now.
Fuck.
In May of 34, Morgan's father, Evan Morgan's father, the Lord Tredegar, dies, and Morgan becomes the second Lord Tredegar, Lord of the 500-year-old house in Wales.
Wow.
And then he took it upon himself to, I'll look it up for the Patreon, but he had like, he was big into mysticism, and he had a whole room of magic, and it was a real swinging place.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And fucking Denny's ready to burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
I wonder if they ever crossed paths with Crowley,
Yeah.
who frequented a lot of these manors.
Right,
He
right.
bought that house that
High
Jimmy
so-
Page then bought. And
High society magic guys.
yeah.
For sure.
Homosexuality, drugs.
Opium.
Morgan's weekend parties were infamous. They were attended by H.G. Wells, Marchesa Casati, Lord Alfred Douglas, Lancey Nancy Cunard, the painter Augustus Johns, George Bernard Shaw, William Butler Yeats, Aldous Huxley, and Aleister Crowley.
Hey,
nice
come on,
work.
it all connects, baby.
And Crowley wrote in his diary of Morgan saying, he's one of the few people I know who can throw a party.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And here's a picture of...
Dude, when Crowley says,
yeah.
this guy knows how to throw a party,
Yeah.
what kind of shit's going on there?
well, here's a picture
Fucking
of
hot
probably...
twinks on opium. That's what's going
That's
on.
shits on class tables.
That's Evan Morgan.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the Lord. He's
That's the guy who was married to a woman?
twice.
Died alone.
Happy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I gotta get
yeah.
me some trunks like
Yeah,
that.
you
You
should.
do. We
It
all
looks
do.
like he's packing or wearing a diaper.
Yeah. I think he might be a little hung in the schlong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he's probably hanging out with Denny all the time.
It's true. He's always chubbed
Full
up.
chub.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At least quarter.
Perma.
Even in the cold
Perma.
pool, he's got a quarter chub.
Pool's warming up.
Yeah, it's full of piss.
It defies science.
Now, is that one of the frequent guests of these parties was the Crown Prince Paul of Greece, who was living in exile in England
The
because
crown prince living in exile. Got it.
the Greek assembly in 1924 had abolished the monarchy.
Yeah.
And the prince
Cradle of
infatuated with Denny, whisked him away to cruise around the Mediterranean on the prince's yacht.
I wouldn't be going back to those kind of. I mean, that Greek guy's still floating around out there.
Well, you know, he's not going to he won't come after a prince.
True. Very true.
Now, eventually, this goes on for a bit, but eventually Denny makes his way back, and he's in Paris now in 1935. In 1935, he meets a man named Peter Watson. Watson's father had invented margarine and made a fortune in World War I when Butler was rationed.
Butter.
Butler, did I say Butler?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they might have been too, yeah.
That guy got rationed.
I think the butlers all got drafted.
No, there's no
yeah,
way.
dude. How do you think Alfred knew how to fucking build all that shit?
Moss away.
Back when I was drafted, when they started rationing me, I was down there.
They didn't even say what side I had to fight for.
They
They
gave me
just said, get in there.
They get in there. They gave me a tub of country crock shed spread, and I said, I can't believe it's not butter. And they said, exactly.
Now, Peter Watson, his father also owned, I forget which milk company or something. But when his father died when he was 20, and he inherited everything. And he basically just, did whatever he wanted. And one of the things he did was publish the very famous magazine Horizon, which was a literary magazine whose contributors is a list of basically every famous Western author of the time. T.S. Eliot, Orwell, Aldous Huxley, Henry Miller, Sartre, Bertrand Russell, Dylan Thomas, H.G. Wells, Eudora Welty, Virginia Woolf. It was the hottest thing. And the night they first met, Peter Watson writes, he took me back to his hotel where he gave himself cocaine injections.
Oh, he learned that from Crowley, dude.
He might have, yeah.
Better not
He
tell.
didn't get it from Iceberg Slim.
Better not tell that guy in the wheelchair about it.
You can shoot this stuff.
He doesn't have to talk like that.
But he
This is a
does. He still
fucking game
does.
changer.
He still does. Now, Watson, however, does not leave the apartment and instead sets up Denny in a hotel room and just you can stay here. Watson's lover, Cecil Barton, would call Denny the great destructive love of Peter's life. And Watson would also say he had an erection whenever he was in a room with Denny.
Holy fucking shit, that rules.
Dude. Yeah, walking Viagra.
Yeah. Dude, that is awesome. He always, I'm sorry.
Dude, he's in.
Hey, can you get out of here for a minute?
Did he ever sit in a room and Denny walked in behind him and he was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, he's like, wait. My Denny sense is tingling.
Something seems amiss. He's like, Denny, go inside. My mom's here.
Denny, you go hide somewhere on the ground. I'm going to use my dick like a dowsing rod.
Like a fucking metal detector.
So,
Found him.
There you are.
so Watson Watson sets up Denny in a room on the Rue de Bac and furnishes the room with Picassos. And Denny is also at this time having his expenses paid for by other rich men and women in Paris.
And women.
Yes.
Oh.
His cigarette cases were Fabergé, and he always
My
had
God.
He always had copious amounts of heroin, opium, and cocaine.
Oh my God, copious.
Copious opiums.
Oh. Holy copious opiums, Batman.
He was patronized by famous French actor Jean Marais, and he was a prodigious storyteller, often rewriting his own history if people weren't aware of anything he said previously. But now, was he lying when he said he preferred adolescent boys, or that he lost his virginity to his younger brother?
Shit.
Oh,
No one knows for sure.
Damn.
you think I'm hot?
Jesus.
What do you get a load of? Dunk it.
The cream will rise to the top.
Ew.
Imagine like building up your own mythos by saying you lost your virginity to your younger brother. Just to
Yeah.
add fuel to that fire.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sick.
I'm
Sick guy,
dude.
T.
Now, Watson and Denny would fight often, mostly over Denny's drug use. And every so often when they fought, Denny would go back to his Greek prince. Now, in October of 35, the Greek monarchy was restored to power with a referendum with supposedly 97.8% approval.
As it should be.
97 after they deposed the monarchy.
Well,
sounds...
so here's a statistic of what happened in those 11 years that the Second Hellenic Republic had tired most Greeks out with, in only 11 years, 23 governments, 16 coups d'etats, and 1 dictatorship.
that'll do
Yeah,
it.
monarchy.
Yeah.
Back to
Remember those fancy guys with the crowns and all that?
remember when everything was stable
Yeah, we're all terrified of one guy.
instead of 23?
Yeah.
Each government lasted on average 6 months, and a coup was either attempted or organized every 42 weeks.
Oh my God.
You know, they don't know what to do if there's no king.
That's right.
Fuck.
How the mighty have fallen.
And yeah, this is Greek, Mike.
These are
Yeah.
the people, the Socrates.
Yeah.
Greece.
And Plato.
So the Greek monarchy was restored to power, and with this, the prince obtained a suite of rooms for Denny at a hotel in Athens. In Athens in 1938, he hung out with Picasso and Dali decorated Denny's suitcases with labels that said Midnight Motel and Hotel Sordide, or possibly they were a gift in lieu of payment. Through these artists, Denny...
Well, he would, I think it was either him or Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
I think they both would just like doodle on napkins and leave them as payment.
Yeah, for sure.
He through them he meets surrealist artist Brian Geeson, who is described as looking like Apollo or Dionysus or Narcissus. Beautiful man.
One of those Greek guys.
The night they met, Denny brought Brian up to his room and phoned the Greek prince, and he asked them to send over, quote, one of those royal guards in ballet skirts with something for us to smoke. And Brian said that night they got royally stoned.
Yeah.
Yeah, royally.
Now, later in 38, Denny and Brian would make their way to Paris one night at Igor Stravinsky's premiere of his new concerto, Dumbarton Oaks. Denny and Brian were joined by American writer Jane Bowles and her husband, the composer Peter Bowles. That night, Denny, back at his apartment with them, he tried to impress the guests by shooting flaming arrows out of his room into the Champs-Elysees.
Oh, my God.
Whoa.
And, that's really where the opium comes in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this isn't so bad. She's like lying on his side, shooting the arrows.
Just lighting the room on fire.
Sacre bleu!
Yeah.
I think I hit a guy.
I hit a peasant.
After the breakout of World War II, around 39, Watson sends Denny back to the U.S. for safety. And he's traveling with Cyril Connolly's ex-wife, Jean Blakewell.
Oh, yeah, because this is what year?
39.
Yeah. Things
You
are,
gotta get
things
out
are
of
heating up.
Cyril Connolly was the editor of Horizon Magazine, a famous writer and editor. Watson, as a parting gift, gave Denny the Picasso painting Girl Reading.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Which he donated for an art show while he was out west here. There's a LA Times mention of him.
Mm.
Can I take this on my carry-on? Overhead?
Girl reading.
She is.
Some of her face is all fucked up.
Yeah.
I know, but
They're
I
all
mean,
like that.
Yeah.
it's just like, the painting titles that are super obvious. It's totally made fun of perfectly in Grand Budapest Hotel. Boy with apple.
Yeah.
Boy with apple.
Yep.
And he's dangling it by the stem. It's so fucking stupid.
But also, if you're Picasso, you don't want people to ask you what the picture's about.
Yeah, because you kind of with the Picasso, you kind of have to say what it is.
True. That. Yeah. You're right.
What the fuck is that? Girl reading.
I see it.
You gotta cross your eyes.
Magic eye. Yeah.
Schooner.
Schooner? What's a schooner? In California, Gene Bakewell introduces Denny to novelist Christopher Isherwood. And together they lived a non-sexual arrangement with Denny staying off drugs, becoming a vegetarian, taking up meditation.
Oh.
And then he was shipped off to the civilian public service camp for conscientious objectors.
Oh. Camp.
And
he definitely objects. It's like, you can't.
I'm not political, dude.
Yeah, you can't throw this Twinkie dude with, you can't have him going like, I lost my virginity to my brother.
Yeah, you throw him next to Tom Hanks and Vin Diesel on Normandy Beach. Things aren't going so well.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys have morphine though?
Yeah. It's
Oh, I got shot. I need some morphine.
I need some heroin.
Suck your cock.
And he did want to join Isherwood's. He was into some sort of religious meditation. I forget what it was, but his teacher was like, "No, that guy's not serious about it."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there at the civilian public service, Denny befriended a group of black workers, and it's rumored that he became a patron, or Lena Horne became his patron. The singer Lena Horne.
Really?
Oh, a woman.
Yes. Then after that, he got his high school diploma, studied medicine at UCLA, and went back to his Paris apartment when the war ended, where he started doing drugs again.
Well, he's a doctor now.
Yeah, exactly. Isherwood would see Denny in Paris, and he would write about this experience in a chapter in his book, Down There on a Visit. Denny's character is named Paul, and the narrator visits his room in Paris, and this is how he describes it. Propped up in his bed, he was a corpse white, and his face looked as though it had firmness of hard wax and was semi-transparent. There was an air about him of being somehow preserved and at the same time purified. His skin seemed to be absolutely without blemish. Indeed, he was marvelously, uncannily beautiful. He wore a heavy skiing sweater over pajamas. Gigi, his dog, laid on the bed at his feet. And then Paul tells Christopher that he uses opium, and he says, I hear you've been working in the movies a lot lately, so perhaps you can give me some money. For Paul proposes they go for dinner at the Ritz. The Paul who appeared that evening had a sinister sepulchre elegance, Dorian Gray arisen from the tomb. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit with a black hat and a neatly rolled umbrella. Gigi was at his heels. He eats only caviar, and then again he asks Christopher for money to buy opium, and Christopher gives him 30,000 francs.
Damn.
That'll get you high.
Yeah, what's the secret to that good skin? Ancient Chinese secret.
Laying around.
Yeah. Conscientiously objecting.
Isherwood would later call Denny the most expensive male prostitute in the world.
Wow.
And the last of the professional tapettes. Tapettes is French slang for gay guy.
Gay guy.
As well as Isherwood, Denny also became a muse for Gore de Vidal. Isherwood wrote in his memoirs, Denny treats Gore with the slightly sarcastic tolerance of an elder uncle. And Vidal would write, at sundown, like Dracula, Denham would appear in the streets leading his dog down Saint-Germain-des-Prés. Vidal also described Denny as un homme fatal and good-looking in a cadaverous way.
That's the second time they mentioned a sepulcher, and they mentioned, that he's a good-looking corpse.
Yeah. Probably not getting a lot of sun.
Yeah.
No, big indoor.
He loves your boy.
Indoor kid.
Yeah, big indoor kid.
Yeah.
According to Vidal, Denny's room in Paris was only furnished with 6 Venetian chairs and a bed with a magnificent Pavel Chelichu painting hanging over it. And he was a Russian surrealist painter.
Uh-huh.
This is the painting.
Whoa.
Dude.
That's called Adonis. One of the descriptions says it's red, but this is from the Sotheby's website. Says this is the painting that hung above his bed.
Dude.
Now, Aaron, describe what you're seeing there.
Now, imagine You are laying.
You're looking down at like a cove kind of situation.
I feel like you're staring upwards.
Yeah, you're looking
You're
up.
staring up.
It's called Adonis.
Yeah,
You're seeing a man from height. It looks more like a dongus. It's fucking. We're seeing
a
some
naked man, mostly.
but from the back.
From the back.
From the lower back.
Yeah.
Standing up with hands on hips, and below him,
And you see his cock and balls through his thigh gap.
yes, and below him we see a man in a pink cowboy hat, standing at the ready,
Yeah.
and another one laying down.
Presumably on opium.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll throw that up on the sometime.
Oh yeah.
We'll check that out.
Yeah.
It's a
And
good photo to have up in your boudoir if you're.
yes, above the bed and next to the bed, and painter Michael Wishart, who fell in love with Denny upon meeting him in 1947 when he was 17 or 18 or so, described the scene as so. Above our bed hung a life-size painting by Jellichu, representing a rather fungoid named Adonis. Painted as though from between the model's parted feet, the focal point was his scrotum, which loomed large in the middle of distance. By hanging this painting upside down, or sometimes upon the ceiling above us, Denham created a very vertiginous perspective, wholly suited to our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, if we're being honest here, what we're really thinking about here is the bussy.
Yeah.
It's in there.
You're getting some back sack,
Yeah.
The back sack is nice.
but you're looking at some walnut crushers of some glutes.
It is amazing how infrequently you see this vantage point.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, unless you're one of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, for these guys, it's art imitating life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Surprised it's not close up.
Yeah. I got to look at more gay erotic art.
Yeah, Tom of Finland, bro.
Yeah, now's the time. Tom of Finland.
Tom of
yeah.
Finland is
Oof.
amazing.
Yeah.
The last bookstore has a lot of good Tom of Finland stuff. I hadn't looked through it before. I had a friend visiting, and they were like, do you know about this? And I was like, not really. And they showed, like, we just flipped through the book together. It was fucking incredible.
Yeah. Pretty cool gay shit.
Very.
Now, Michael Wishart would become addicted to opium during his time with Denny.
Huh.
In 1948, Truman Capote's first novel, Other Voices, Other Rooms, is published. On the back of the book jacket is this picture of Truman Capote.
Yeah.
What?
That's not Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Okay, but this is a better looking man than Philip Seymour Hoffman, if we're being
Yeah, I
honest.
guess.
It's a good picture of him.
Yes.
It's a great picture of him. I love that vest, too.
Now, when Denny saw this picture, he mailed a blank check to Capote with one word written on it that said, come.
How'd he spell it?
C-O-M-E.
Okay.
Interesting. A blank check from, like, does Denny have blank check money?
Well, he has money, yeah.
Yeah.
But who
He's
knows?
the most expensive prostitute in the world.
Yeah.
True.
He's got some scratch.
Male prostitute, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Capote did. And by this point, though, Denny would just be in bed most of the day, impotent and deep into an opium addiction.
Ooh.
Constipated.
Capote would sit by the bed and listen to Denny's many stories over, I mean, really only over the last, it's been 15 years.
About how you fucked your brother. Is that a good Truman Capote?
Yeah,
It is
that's
pretty
pretty good. Yeah. And still, Capote said of Denny, he was the best kept boy in the world. To watch him walk into a room was an experience. He was beyond good looking. He was the single most charming looking person I've ever seen. And he also said, had Denham Fouts yielded to Hitler's advances, there would have been no World War II.
Huh.
Wow. Damn, we should have drafted this guy.
Yeah, we should just send him there. Just
God.
like Tiananmen Square, just walking up to a table.
Yeah, that would be the conscientious thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Conscious director.
Come on, that was good.
That's
You like?
pretty good.
Now, before long, the lavish light caught up with Denny. He became a recluse, in bed like a corpse, sheet to his chin, a cigarette between his lips, turning to ash. His lover, the socialite Anthony Watson Gandy, had to remove the cigarette before it burned his mouth. Later in 1948, Denny's busted for drugs. He moves to Rome, and it's there on December 16th. He's found dead from hypoplastic aorta and hypertrophy of left ventricle.
Heart problem.
He was 34 years old.
Fuck. Damn. And it was very hard to tell if he was dead because he always looked like that.
He looked like
Honestly, he looked great. He looked better than ever.
they brought him to the mortician. He's like, And again?
He brought him to the mortician. He was like, "There's nothing for me to do. He's perfect."
Damn, that was awesome.
I'm out of business.
The gay Playboy, gay boy.
The gay.
Why was it Playgirl, not Gay Boy?
There was some. Why is Playgirl?
Yeah,
Well,
it's supposed to be for.
Yeah.
it's a prank. Supposed
to be for women.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah, no, it's for everyone.
Remember when they put John Wayne Bobbitt in there after they
Yeah.
Pennies?
Yeah, that's definitely not for women.
Yeah, it's for.
They should have put John Wayne Gacy in there.
It's for Frankenstein.
The John Wayne Bobbitt's dick was a Frankenstein monster.
Yeah.
Had the stitches and the bolts and everything, like you said.
Yeah, the whole Megillah.
Fire bad.
Yeah. What do you think of this guy?
A real star, a rising star, going out with a.
It's just
Bang,
crazy that, like, I mean, just looks. Everybody just fucking freaks out.
It's such like the it's the one simple trick to get rich people to do shit for you.
Yeah.
And it's an great equalizer. Like it helps if you are rich to get into the doors.
Yeah.
And, or get into the room, but fuck, man.
But like it's interesting too, like with these other guys, there's the polo, there's the car racing, and there's this element of danger to woo women and stuff. And this guy's like, no, I just stay inside.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I just stay inside and look good.
Yeah, well, I think, Westcott.
Well, he had like the storytelling and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was fun. Like people said, he was fun. Every time he showed up, it was going to be fun.
Yeah.
But I think like Westcott told him, think about what you want to do and get someone to pay for it, basically. Ask them to teach you. And so he kind of did. And eventually it just turned out he just wanted to do, because of the opium addiction, he just eventually just only wanted to do opium, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And so he did. And that didn't last that long. But in 14 years, he really rose through the ranks.
Hobnob.
Isn't it kind of interesting though too? Because like, but you said like heroin and cocaine as well, and it would seem that opium would be the least sort of addictive. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Maybe he just liked smoking and
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can just do a lot of it.
yeah.
It's
It's safer. You can keep doing it.
Well, apparently not.
Well,
But like morphine too, is like seemingly more addictive. And then heroin.
Morphine.
Heroin was created to be like the methadone of morphine, and they made something even more addictive.
Yeah.
so it worked.
Yeah, it got you off morphine.
Yeah.
It got you on heroin.
Yeah.
Wasn't it the other way around?
No, I think heroin was created, and then with methadone they finally got it kind of right.
Yeah.
But it was still another high.
Yeah, just methadone just kind of gets rid of the sick and doesn't get you blasted.
But I think there's something to, and I'm gonna buy
Some opium.
Vanderbilt's book about him, because I read that it mainly it talks about the people he met more than him, but it talks about this rich society of artists,
Yeah.
and especially like gays who are in this upper class where they could be who they wanted to be,
Right, because they're rich.
They were shielded with talent and money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then too, like also like homophobia is obviously far more out of control, and then there's just like a secrecy aspect.
yes, and if you hear someone you can trust who's fun,
Yeah.
and he's hot, and you guys can fuck.
Right.
Yeah. And when you got Crowley in the next room eating shit burger sandwiches and boofing opium,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you look pretty normal.
Yeah. You got
true.
Tyrone Power knocking around doo-doo queen.
Actually, real shit sandwiches.
Yeah.
Him and fucking Crowley probably had a fucking smorgasbord.
Zorro. Man.
Yep.
All right, that is really fun. Let's take a little break, and we'll be back, and we'll do mine, and we'll wrap this up.
All right.
Hey,
Be right back,
boy.
folks. Ahem.
Oh boy.
Anytime.
Yes.
And we're back.
Say,
Fellas.
he's ready.
So I was just saying to Matt outside, the interesting thing about this, and what we want to describe to the listener, I think that you might find in the Ruby episode and in the two you gentlemen just brought and mine forthcoming, it's just that we see a class here of, multi-continental people that are just in, like, I would say from, like, especially the 40s to the 60s.
It's that pre- and post-war period we were talking about at the end of the Rubirosa episode.
Yeah.
Like, that period of time, like no other, allowed for this type of person. The advent of jet travel.
Yeah.
Electricity, phone,
Yes.
and things like that. You couldn't have this kind of life before.
Yes.
The instantaneousness of communication, the massive fortunes that were made.
Yes, and the reappearances of all of these characters. It's Crowley and the writers and all that stuff. It's like me and Matt were saying, like, they probably just saw each other all of the time.
Yeah.
The kinds of places you're going, the kind of galas and things like that.
Oh, will Virginia Woolf be there?
Yeah.
Who's afraid of that bitch?
I think women are the most beautiful thing in the world, and I think that's how it should be for a man. That's what I think creation wanted. There may be people who find giraffes or hedgehogs more beautiful. I think women are the most beautiful thing in the world. These are the words of Gunter Sachs.
Gunter Sachs.
Sachs.
Danke.
In the profile, of course, of Ruby, Porfirio Rubirosa, the character Gunter Sachs makes an appearance for some James Bond-inspired hijinks on the seas that gold member kind of thing they were doing.
Well, I guess.
Well,
They went on an expedition for a treasure hunt in the open ocean.
But no. This is when they were actually making the kind of parody of Goldfinger.
Oh, right. They were shooting a fucking...
Yeah, but Ruby had a big dick, so I'm saying gold member.
Smart.
Yes.
I get it now.
So they like the ladies, the two of these guys. They were bros, type bros from way back when. And that was like their sense of humor. That was them being boys, getting on, just like the three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
You know what I mean?
On a yacht, whipping out our hogs.
Yeah.
Helicopter in it.
Rubirosa was the center point of Gunter Sachs's social circle in the late 50s, early 60s. Their usual group included a dozen or so men of wealth and influence, including Ali Khan, a socialite and ambassador for Pakistan. Sachs also tried to help Ruby launch a perfume business that went nowhere, and then he also arranged Ruby's funeral.
That was a party.
Yeah. Multi-talented.
He was not just a wingman; he was very much a playboy in his own right, and a trendsetter. Time magazine referred to him as the German Lothario.
Lothar.
Yeah.
Germans didn't have a word for that.
Yeah, which is very rare.
Yes.
One friend said of him, he wanted to persuade the world that he had more than champagne bubbles in his head. But also, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can go diving as quickly as you want.
He was born into a class, society culture that expected industriousness, but he reveled in play. And he left the world in 2011, but his legend endures.
And it's spelled Sachs?
Yes.
Like Goldman Sachs?
Correct.
But you say Sachs, right?
He was born on the 14th of November, 1932, making him a Scorpio.
Hey.
Astrology was a major fascination for him later in life. The astrological profile for a person born on November 14th is as follows. Quote, "You are a chameleon, always changing, full of talent, drive, and passion for life. Scorpios born on November 14th love to reinvent themselves and what it means to be successful. They do not like to stick to a preordained path, but rather immerse themselves in a world of art, intuition, love, and imagination." He had an older brother named Ernst.
Sachs.
His mother, Eleanor, gave birth to him in Mainburg Castle, close to the southern German city of Schweinfurt.
Schweinfurt?
Schweinfurt.
Pig Fort?
Yeah, Pigtown.
Pigtown.
Pigville.
Pigtown.
I was born in a castle in
Alamo.
Pigville.
Forget about it, Johann. It's Schweinfurt.
Isn't your mom from Pigville?
Wherever she's at, Pigville.
The name Sachs happens to be a common surname among Ashkenazi Jewish people from the German state of Saxony, but it would appear that Gunter's ancestors were not Jewish. Willie Sachs was the owner of Fichtel & Sachs, a company founded by his grandfather. They were a leading maker of ball bearings and car and motorcycle parts, small engines, clutches, shock absorbers, bicycle hubs, and brakes.
And socks.
Yes. They based their operations out of Schweinfurt. And they became one of the biggest auto suppliers in Germany.
Is that right? Which is a big place to supply autos.
Yeah, that's right.
One writer said, the boy knew early and well how metal was assembled. Gunter, born in southern Germany in 1932, and the Nazis make an appearance in his life story. Across the world, fascist parties have often drawn support from leaders of industry, men in finance, and generally the upper crust of society, like the British royal family. His father, Willie Sachs, was friendly with some top Nazi brass, namely German Göring, and Heinrich Himmler.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
Big names. Big-
Fichtel & Sachs was a big wartime supplier. Its clutches were installed in every German tank.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's good money in
Its
that.
clutches were installed. Sorry. It's alleged that he was an honorary SS officer, Willie, the dad.
Wow.
Oh, all those clutches. I mean,
In 1935, his parents separated. He was just 3 years old. His mother took the boys and raised them in Switzerland.
Good move.
He had a typical lonely rich child's upbringing, looked after by nannies and at home and sent away to boarding school. He was educated at Institut auf dem Rosenberg in St. Gallen, Switzerland. As of last year, Rosenberg is the world's most expensive school. When you account for the tuition, meals, housing, extracurriculars, and personal expenses for students, it comes to around $175,000 a year.
yeah, you're not meeting janitors' kids there.
No, you're meeting fucking Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're shooting hoops with the un.
The college years. Have you heard this Four Non Blonde song?
I love it.
What's up?
Smoking a joint. You know what I'd like to do to my uncle, dude?
One of these days,
We have these anti-aircraft.
I was just going to strap him to the cannon and just watch.
I just want to like see his fucking thigh fly.
And I was going to put all my cousins like next to him so they could be like fucking splattered with his entrails and viscera. Just fuck them, yeah.
All right, you want to watch Faulty Towers again?
Have you guys seen Fight Club?
At school, Gunter would be remembered more for his pranks than his intellect.
His pranks.
Yes, it's a simple prank. Willie, the father, was arrested by the American military in 1945 after Berlin Falls.
Ha.
Oops.
He could have been hanged and or handed a lengthy prison term, or just lost his ability to work legally.
Instead,
His family could have been ran out of the country, but he was officially determined to have been just a follower and got released.
The clutches didn't even work.
With the vetting of the American military, he was, quote, fairly clean. Fichtel & Sachs could operate business as usual. The company was crucial to the new German economic recovery.
That's convenient.
Just business as usual, baby.
yeah, well, you gotta have a business recovery, otherwise you just have another.
At least
Right.
I'm not being paper clipped like those rocket fools. I get to stay in the fatherland. Making money hand over fist. So Sachs was studying mathematics and then economics at the University of Lausanne. And in Switzerland, it's the second oldest university in the country and one of the world's oldest universities to be in continuous operation. He appeared to be preparing for taking over the family business. The early 50s was a transitional period for high society. Aristocrats in old Europe kept with the same society routines that had survived the war. Austerity programs made elegance and glamour seem passé. The ultra-wealthy spent time at the same golf courses, tennis courts, and polo grounds through the Riviera and the Alps. Throughout the 50s, in the early part of the 50s, Gunter played and competed in tennis, diving, skiing, and bobsledding.
Hey.
Part of the St. Moritz Olympic bobsled run is named after him. When he was 23, he made a marriage with the student Anne-Marie Faure. In 1955, they had a son, Rolf Sachs.
Rolf Sachs.
Born August 10th, 1955. 3 years later, a phone call would upset his whole world. His father, Willie, had committed suicide in a hunting lodge after a long depressive period. He needed to assume a greater role in the company. He became deputy chairman in charge of international operations for Fichtel & Sachs, working alongside his older brother, Ernst. He'd smile and say, I was never photographed going to the office with a briefcase. After the suicide of his father, Gunter's wife, Anne-Marie, also passed away.
No.
In his autobiography, he explained that she died as a result of an anesthetic defect or medical error during a minor operation following a car accident. Rolf was now without his mother at just 3 years old, the same as Gunter himself.
Oh.
After the loss of his wife, he relocated to France, which his son Rolf would later describe as a brave move. Quote, "It took a special character to go and live in Paris in 1958, just 13 years after the war. As a German, it was probably quite difficult."
Rolf he had a lot of money, I bet.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But also that's also, like they were saying, to be an aristocrat, to be that wealthy was not looked upon as a like had happened before.
Well, now particularly, and Laura points this out in her research here, particularly in Germany, where you're supposed to be seen as a guy that is building the new Germany, so they don't want you in Paris throwing money around.
Yeah,
they're like,
that's right,
hey, you should be
here.
Yeah.
You should be doing that
Get
here.
back to Schweinwald.
Yeah, let's go back to Pigville. What's your motto? Rolf claimed at this time that his father did not have huge amounts of disposable cash. He would spend many afternoons gambling with extremely wealthy men in Paris. He was an excellent card player. Quote, "He wasn't that wealthy then. Father would play cards with friends in the afternoon, and he would invest his profits in art. At the time, nobody was really buying art. People were building up their businesses. Everything had been shattered. He bought works by artists like Yves Klein, Jean Fautrier, César, and Armand, prime representations of the Nouveau Realism school. He also had art in formal works, including pieces by his friend, the artist Fautrier. During the early years of World War II, Fautrier's studio was a refuge for intellectuals and artists in the French resistance. None of them were famous then. Rolf explained his father's motivations. He bought it for the love of art. He also dove headfirst into the dating scene, or as the magazine put it, quote, "His response to his wife's death was to hit the bright lights of the Playboy world."
There we go.
Yeah.
He was also one of the 100 richest men in Germany, one of the most eligible bachelors in Europe. It helped that his French was actually better than his German. Switzerland.
Right.
And he spoke a few other languages as well. He had, quote, "movie star good looks in addition to his bank accounts, charm, and breeding."
Breeding.
Yeah,
yes.
Those are Laura's words. Laura gets. Laura starts talking about the breeding. You gotta have a firm eyebrow raised.
Does she have a big footnote explaining?
No. He had a very individual sense of style at a time when fashion was in flux. Men of industry were not usually the tastemakers that set the tone for menswear. Gunter wore a, quote, "uniform" of 4 pairs of white trousers, 6 blue shirts, and 2 blazers. When Michelangelo Antonioni copied his look for the movie Blow Up, Gunter famously complained. Another earlier film alluded to his style called Plein Soleil. Soleil, a work adapted from Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley. In 1959, he was dating the sultry Anglo-Austrian actress Mara Lane. She was a leading lady and model-born Dorothy Lane Bolton in Vienna. Her mother was a Russian pianist, and her father was a British oil executive. She studied dance at the Viennese Ballet before her family moved her to America. By the 60s, Gunter had accumulated a very fine collection of toys. He had speedboats, yachts,
Okay.
hand-built cars,
Nice.
and planes. Not to mention the world's finest sports gear, camera equipment, and more chronometers than most countries' navies. He broke bobsled records and skied the world's most dangerous courses.
Pretty cool.
The dailies in Paris called him Saxy. He had like a fucking Bex, he had like a tabloid name.
Monsieur Sexy.
Sexy.
Yeah. In the gossip columns, society columns. He's counted among those who discovered the still pretty unknown French fishing village called Saint-Tropez. He and his peers made Saint-Tropez the most fashionable destination for the young and fabulous. Until the beginning of the 20th century, Saint-Tropez was just a fishing village and military stronghold. In Operation Dragoon, it was the first town on its coast to be liberated during World War II. In the post-war era, it became internationally renowned beach resort. French New Wave artists and musicians flocked there to frolic in the sun. Many sources claim that Gunter hooked up with one of the Rubi's ex-lovers, Soraya Esfandiari Bakhtiari, in 1962. Soraya had been queen of Iran, the second wife of the Shah.
Oh,
boy.
They'd gotten married in 1951, but faced several pressures as a royal couple.
yeah, he sent the Iron Sheik over to fucking knock on some doors.
Yeah. He put a camel clutch, and then he put a clutch in every tank.
Camel Clutch. That's a great name.
Yeah, I think Rommel used that.
That's yourself a deal, buddy.
After a few years, it was clear that Soraya was infertile, making the marriage to the Shah even more tumultuous. The Shah suggested that he could take a second wife to produce an heir. She was like, nah. She offered that he could abdicate and
I'm going to go with the guy with the good breeding.
She offered that he could abdicate and let his half-brother take the crown. The Shah was like, nah. And they announced their divorce. The Shah, nah. In March 1958, they divorced. So the Shah bought her a penthouse in Gay Paris.
Okay, yeah.
House, Playboys. This is awesome.
Pretty good deal.
Estimated to be worth $3 million. She also received $7,000 a month alimony, which would continue until the Shah was deposed in 1979.
Thank you, CIA.
Frankie Roosevelt Jr.
She was also granted several vehicles, including Rolls Royces, Mercedes, and various pieces of extravagant jewelry. After her death, her Harry Winston platinum ring with a 22-carat diamond sold at auction for $838,000. Oh, one piece of jewelry.
What a piece.
Once Gunter and Sarai went public with the relationship, his status as the ultimate male consort was confirmed. Their relationship was not long-lived, but from that point forward, glossy magazines were constantly printing photos of Sachs accompanying heiresses, divorcees, and movie stars. He escorted the Swedish actress and model Britt Ekland and Aristotle Onassis' ex-wife, Tina.
Wow. And his other ex-wife?
He described the role He described the role of Playboy as, quote, a man who inspires women with his charisma without losing their respect. Rolf recalled that his father had dated Marina Doria, a Swiss biscuit heiress, and
of the biscuit fortune.
Yes, of the Swisskit.
Yeah.
And a champion water skier. He'd watch her going back and forth in front of their house on the French Riviera, being pulled by his dad's friends on his speedboat. Gunter launched his own chain of boutique fashion shops called Micmac in 1965.
Micmac.
Yes. Ruby passes away after the crash in Paris. He took on
Ferrari.
He took on the dangerous role of drying a widow's tears. He romanced the still young French actress Ruby's widow, Odile Rodin.
No.
In 1966, Gunter was dating. In 1966, Gunter was dating the German model Heidi Balzer. She was best known for her acting work in the 1964 movie Cover Girls.
Yes.
In 65 to 72, Gunter serves as president of Munich's Modern Art Museum.
Oh.
He decorated his homes and his hotel penthouse suites with incredible art and furnishings. He became one of the art world's most preeminent celebrities. He collected works by Kandinsky, Francis Bacon, Max Ernst, Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, Tom Wesselmann, Jean Fautrier, René Magritte, Salvador Dali, Mel Ramos, Jean Tinguely, Marshall Race, and Alan Jones.
Pretty cool.
He would put the Lichtensteins in his bathroom. His kitchen had a Warhol Campbell's soup. If you were so lucky to stay in his guest bedroom, you'd see a Mel Ramos banana split.
Oh, cool.
Rolf was surrounded by art and had a major influence on his childhood. Rolf said, I was very much aware of the art in the house, and as an 8-year-old, I knew every painter. I knew every painting. I had a very strong...
the Nazis probably gave him all that stolen art. His dad was an honorary SS. They probably gave him all that shit they fucking robbed.
I know. I think he was really in on the French realism stuff on the ground floor, and then he just became known as an art guy.
Cool.
He said I had a very strong relationship with the art with all the art we had. Even though he did take photography, documentary filmmaking, and his work in the industry seriously, German people thought of Gunter Sachs as the crown prince of pleasure. While they were working on the production lines and offices making Germany's recovery possible, he was out living it up on the international party scene. He always paid attention to his investments and family companies, assuring that he never fell off the list of richest Germans. People were envying him for his bohemian lifestyle, his indulgences, and others were condemning his lifestyle. He had homes in California, London, Paris, Munich, and Switzerland. German businessmen were supposed to be rebuilding the economy, not outspending the proceeds so extravagantly. He had the imagination and the funds to live as he wanted and the energy to do it all. Gunter Sachs and Brigitte Bardot had traveled in the same circles for many years, but they really connected at a dinner party in early 1966. She had just, she was at the height of her film career and international celebrity. She'd say, he romanced me like James Bond.
Ooh.
Gunter
He saved her from a henchman?
Yeah.
Shark?
Yeah.
Razor?
Somebody almost threw a shoe at her head. He courted her grandly with an ostentatious gesture guaranteed to attract her attention. He arranged for a helicopter to fly over her villa on the French Riviera in Saint-Tropez and drop over 1,000 red rose petals.
Oh, my God.
Some of which struck her, causing scratches.
And
Thorns.
he goes, it was just the roses. And he goes, and then I threw my 2 wooden suitcases out. And he goes, and I jumped in myself. And then I walked up on the shore. And she was more excited by that than anything.
I rappelled down like a Navy SEAL.
Did a triple Lindy.
He said that
Superhero landing.
He said that she liked that even better than the roses. She wrote in her diary, it's not every day a man drops a ton of roses in your garden.
No, that's true. A lot of the times it's trash or maybe someone pukes or, it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, thank you. It's not, but
I'm glad you brought that up.
not every day.
Yeah, sometimes the guy pukes in your garden.
She had said, I'd already known and loved many men. I'd had passionate affairs. But that evening, I was hypnotized. I seemed to be flying, as if carried by Gunter into a fairy tale world I had never known and would never know again.
The fairy tale land known as Schweinfurt.
You're making it fart at the end.
Yeah.
Schweinfurt.
Pig fart. He was born in a castle in Pigfart. A few months later, he proposed. She accepted. They got married on Bastille Day, July 14th, 1966, setting a standard that many other celebrities would follow. The festivities took place in Las Vegas, baby.
Where else?
She wore an orange mini dress and no shoes, and he wore his hair long and his shirt unbuttoned.
Tight.
His best man.
Vegas, man.
Very
best man
hot.
was the helicopter.
Yeah, Elvis impersonator.
Yeah. When the German middle class got a load of the wedding photos in the magazines and newspapers, they were both shocked and delighted. Sachs gave her 3 rings, 1 of red rubies, 1 of diamonds, and 1 of blue sapphires, which is kind of like the French flag, Their union was viewed as a reconciliation between the 2 warring powers of France and Germany.
Oh.
Wow. It's like Eurovision, but with a wedding or something.
It was really
Yeah.
it is amazing that
It's the EU, basically.
it has that power, you know what I mean?
I mean, just like a royal, monarchs would intermarry, to create alliances and quell rebellion.
It's like that fanfic I read of Macron and Merkel.
Oh boy, was it erotic?
Oh boy.
When Newsweek reported the story, they mentioned Sachs' reputation as a big lady killer.
That was a positive phrase.
The undaunted Mrs. Sachs at the time said, I have never known a man like him. I feel mad, serene, wonderstruck. I have arrived at the end of a long journey. They honeymooned in Tahiti.
Cool.
Despite their, very romantic beginnings, their lives were still very separate. They didn't have a key to each other's apartments in Paris.
Who does?
Rolf had great things to say about Bridget as a stepmother.
Oh, I bet.
She's always getting stuck in the
Oh,
dryer.
it's incredible.
Oh, God. Stuck in the dryer.
Doesn't wear shoes or panties. Wink, wink.
He said, she was very kind to me, very sweet. I have only the fondest memories of her. This is also what he said about his father's parties. He made some of the most spectacular parties. Everyone would dress up, and there was always wonderful music. His dad could also sport a wicked sense of humor.
Oh.
Once he did a party where he played as if there was a holdup and everyone was surrounded and people were getting frightened.
Oh my gosh.
That's beyond a sense of humor, I feel like.
And it was...
He loves the pranks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was only a gag. We're not really invading France.
Again.
And he said for him it was more about having a good time than just having the wealthiest, most influential people around.
You gotta have a good time.
You have to. What are you doing?
A lot of the fun people surrounded him, people who were spirited, who were good laughs. The photo magazines were following them with bated breath, producing some outstanding images of the couple, the best with Sachs as Mephistopheles, Bardot as nubility incarnate, and Salvador Dali as more or less himself at her birthday party. And that's...
And she's nubility incarnate.
Yes.
And what was he? What was Gunter?
Yeah, that's for you.
Mephistopheles.
Yes.
Yes. Salvador Dali as more or less himself.
Yeah, the
which
weirdo.
is a costume.
It is, yeah.
Also very Mephistopheles.
Bardot said, while we were married, all told, I don't think we spent more than 3 months together. I cheated on Gunter, of course, and he was unfaithful too, a lot more than I was.
Jesus Christ. It was the end of a journey.
Yeah.
In a biography of French pop star Serge Gainsbourg, pronounced like Serge,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a famous French
soda.
musician.
Yes.
Yes, I've played him on the jukebox.
You have. Gainsbourg had a passionate but short-lived love affair with Bardot during her marriage to Sachs.
Did an album with her.
Yeah. He said Brigitte is still married to Gunter Sachs, but he's getting on her nerves. He dreams of making a movie with her and recruits Gerard Brock to write the script. Bardot hates the project. To avoid doing it, she signs on for Shalako, which is supposed to start shooting in Andalusia come January with Sean Connery. In May of 1967, Gunter forces her to present his film Batuk at Cannes.
Jesus!
It's a documentary he had produced about the animals of Kenya. The rumors of divorce start running rampant. On July 13th, their first wedding anniversary ends in a huge fight.
Whoopsie. Not a fun party. Not a prank.
During the summer, Brigitte shoots a short piece with Alain Delon, part of the Histories Extraordinaire, based on the book by Edgar Allan Poe and directed by Louis Malle. And it is then that she cheats on her husband with one of the assistants, a story she tells in her autobiography.
Oh, an assistant.
Well, yeah, no, she's really going, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fuck this guy.
Yeah. Another one of her lovers from that era who opted to remain anonymous recounts the following. Quote, Gunter Sachs was a despicable character, a total bore with no moral standards or any warmth. A reactionary Teuton, odiously arrogant and nasty, he would indulge himself by screaming at gas station attendants or waiters when he wasn't served promptly enough. Take away his money and he was nothing. For him, marrying Bardot was a question of social status. He really put one over on her. I don't know. It's an anonymous thing too. It's like, I don't know. I'm not getting that anywhere else but here, but it totally could be true.
Could be.
You know,
Or that could be just the version of him he got.
Yeah, and it's also some guy that was a lover of Bardot.
Yeah, it was fucking Hugh Hefner or something.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't putting one over. Maybe just thought that would be cool and fun. But I could see him yelling at gas station attendants and waiters.
Bardot herself said, I had not married a man alone, but a group of swaying around playboys who were forged more closely by complicity than a marriage could ever do. In their lives, the women certainly did not function as a woman in the most positive sense. They were looking for beautiful, young, and preferably stupid companions. Bad luck for Gunter. Since I didn't have the latter qualification, I was increasingly annoying to him. He played around and I stood in his way. They officially divorced in 1969, and he publicly complained after the marriage, quote, it is a hard fate to be the companion of a sun-worshipping woman.
What? Rolf?
Yeah.
She's a real sun worship.
She's always getting stuck in the dryer.
She's like my solar fist.
She was like worshiping my son, Rolf.
Little swine.
I'm a simple man from Pig Farm.
The hot French broad comes around and starts worshiping my son, Rolf. I ain't having it.
They ain't with us no more.
Yeah, suddenly he's
I don't know.
he's iced tea for no reason. The divorce ended without much acrimony, and
He's iced tea for no reason.
the New York Times had referred to Sachs as someone who had been linked romantically at some time or other with half the great beauties in Europe. Nobody petitioned for alimony or support or anything. Sachs sent her some diamonds after the whole thing had been resolved. She went on to sell the jewels to use the funds to support her animal rights charities. Gunter joined forces with Prince Constantine of Bavaria to co-found and head the Association for the Modern Art Museum in Munich. The association lobbied for the construction of a modern art museum in Munich. They worked on the project from 67 to 75. They mounted monthly art exhibitions at Villa Struck, an old historic home and museum in Munich. Artists like Victor Vasarely, George Baselitz, Heinz Edelman, Christo, Cy Twombly, Alexander Calder, Heinz Mack, and Jean Chingley, Roy Lichtenstein, and Gotthard Graubner would be displayed at the new museum's rooms.
I know one of those people.
Turns out I don't know shit about.
One of Gunther's most famous residences was an apartment in the tower of the Palace Hotel in St. Moritz, Switzerland. In 1969, he gave it a pop art overhaul, and the space garnered major attention from the art world. The sculptor and designer Diego Giacometti created a table for him. Alan Jones, a star from the 60s British pop art scene, was one of Gunter's favorites. He created a set of furniture for Gunter that used fetishistic female mannequins.
Oh.
Fun.
And Gunter, he liked the female nudes. It was a big part of his art collection.
For most,
yeah.
you know.
Alan Jones remembered one of his stays at the Penthouse. It was the most risky place I had ever been in. One of One wall of the apartment seemed to be entirely glass with a breathtaking view of the Alps. There were Liechtenstein panels around the bathroom, a flock of Lilane sheep on the carpet, and a set of my sculptures.
Another wall was just purely glory holes,
John Wayne was.
And it was glorious.
wasn't it?
After his divorce from Bardot, he got back into the dating scene, but he cheated on her, so he never really left. He met a 26-year-old Swedish model named Mirja Larsson. They became engaged within a year and married before the end of '69. Before the wedding, she told Time magazine, "I'm not afraid of his past. It doesn't touch me. In him, I found the husband I've always dreamed of." She would give birth to 2 sons, Christian Gunnar in '71 and Klaus Alexander, born in '82.
Hey, contemporary.
Yes. From '69 onward, he was the bobsleigh club's chairman at St. Moritz. And the Turn 13 in the St. Moritz Celerina Olympic Bob Run is named in his honor.
Turn number 13. Lucky
Yes.
number 13.
Mm-hmm. Rolf said of his father's art collecting, there was never a thought of it being an investment. In fact, he stopped collecting in the 70s because he was disillusioned with the art market. It became so aggressive. It had a strong business component.
Yeah.
Gunter created a private social club in St. Moritz, the Dracula Club.
Dracula's?
Dracula.
I love a Dracula club.
Yeah.
They only meet it during the daytime.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to ask. They have to give you
This ain't no
permission.
Frankenstein shit.
No, man.
This is Dracula.
Hello.
Hello?
They have a cool leather jacket or anything like that.
Yeah. Clamatos.
The Guardian reported that it became a hotspot for ravenous parties.
A Dracula club?
The Dracula Club.
Old as time.
He was surrounded by like-minded playboys, hedonists,
Vampires.
Good
that type of
guys.
shit. I mean, you gotta say, Dracula is the ultimate playboy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Guys, girls,
Yeah.
Whatever.
wolves, piles of rats.
I mean, honestly, can you play him?
So he had studied mathematics and economics, and after 1970, it was said that he became less of a loafer. Yeah, he starts going for it a little bit more.
Okay.
He opens art galleries in Hamburg and Munich in '71. He's the first person to bring Andy Warhol and for a special exhibit, and he was working professionally as a photographer from '72 onward.
Cool. You know he's in his 40s.
He would be
Late 30s.
1930. I forget what I said. I think it was. I think it was 32. So he's just turning 40 now.
Yeah.
And Andy is his personal friend. He was probably the most famous collector of pop art in the world in the early 1970s. His son Rolf recalled how the exhibition went. Quote, "Nothing sold. My father was highly embarrassed, and he bought most of the exhibition himself, which was, of course, the best investment he ever made."
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's getting all this.
Yes, I gotta
He's
guess.
getting it out of embarrassment. And meanwhile, he has no fucking idea.
That it's gonna just
Yeah.
balloon.
Is it true that absolutely nothing sold? Rolf said, "I wasn't there. It gets embellished every time, but so what? It has something beautiful about it. Stories should have a poetic dreaming effect."
Oh.
So you can see this myth-building thing is
Yeah.
also still playing a role here, you know? So Rolf likes to tell the story of at the end of the Warhol exhibit in Hamburg. Quote, 120 bottles of champagne were empty, but not a single picture had been sold because the Hamburg money bags didn't know where to begin. Gunter went around that night sticking red sold stickers on half the paintings. The exhibition was a great success, but he ended up owning more than he intended. In 1973, French Vogue printed their first ever nude photo shot by Gunter Sachs.
Oh my God, who is it?
And it was quite a stir
Roger
in the
Moore.
media. He was getting recognition in the photo world in 1974. He had a show at the Photokina trade show, which is a trade fair in Europe for photographic and imaging industries. He also designed the official exhibition poster for Photokina that year. Warhol created a series of silkscreen portraits of Brigitte Bardot for Sachs in 1974 at his request.
And Dr. Manhattan. I'm all those Watchmen ones.
Yeah, those are hard to get.
Yeah.
You got to go to a whole different universe.
I like a Night Owl too myself.
In 2006, one of those silk screens sold for $3 million. One.
You gotta get them all.
And Warhol also did portraits of Gunter.
Oh.
Sachs became a Swiss citizen in 1976. He'd done so much to revive interest in St. Moritz that the police didn't intervene when he and his rich friends were holding car races on frozen lakes in the middle of the night.
Oh my God. Nobody died?
How fucking insane!
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys out there and
Can you imagine the
cars?
sound?
Yeah.
Shit! Scheiße! Man! Switzerland, multilingual.
Yes.
In 1976, he received a photography award, the Leica Award. Leica Camera is a German company that makes cameras, lenses, binoculars, and rifle scopes.
How
Like is
convenient.
very, very good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. In 1977, his older brother Ernst died in an avalanche.
Oh my God.
Avalanche of money.
Avalanche of pussy.
Yeah. The very next year, Gunter crossed the Alps by himself in a hot air balloon. You can see him right there.
Hey, cool. Hot air balloons.
Yeah, you,
Fucking Benihana guy.
avalanche proof.
Yeah.
Hot air balloons.
Yeah. Got whisked away to a land called Oz. What else?
What else? In Andy Warhol's memoirs, he mentioned Sachs as one of the young Europeans who traveled to New York and did the whole Studio 54 thing. He'd write, at the time,
Ozymandias.
yes. He'd write, at the time you didn't think much of it, but it was fun. You don't appreciate those moments enough because you don't realize. Very deep, Andy.
Idiot.
Frog. Toad. Oh, that's it. God damn it.
Oh, what was that from?
That was
Toad.
Joe K's,
Yeah.
the woman who shot Andy Warhol.
Yeah, that's French. Call him
Valerie
Toad.
Solanas. Yeah. Frog.
Gunter partied hard and hosted some of the most spectacular parties in Playboy history through the 60s and 70s. Those events often took place on his yacht named Dracula.
Oh.
That's pretty cool.
And he got into some debauchery. He had close
Yeah,
links,
of course he did.
He had close links to Roberto Suarez Gomez, a.k.a. the king of cocaine, a Bolivian trafficker and drug lord. He was one of the Medellin cartel's major suppliers.
Wow.
Cool.
Gunter used an intricate system of offshore accounts to manage his vast estate. Authorities could never penetrate his operations during his lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
He had that edge because he lived on the line between sensible and wayward. In 1991, he worked with the German model Claudia Schiffer on a photo series called Heroines. At the Photokina conventions in 94 and 95, he received prizes for his photos at the German Photo Days. His body of work as a photographer is full of a lot of surreal nudes and surreal landscapes. His works were published in 7 different volumes. The proceeds from illustrated books and from the sale of photographs went to his wife's foundation, Mirja Sachs Foundation, that helps children in need. When he was 62 in 1994, he founded an institute that sought to provide scientific evidence for astrological predictions.
Oh, that's so weird.
He named it the Institute for Empirical and Mathematical Examination of the Possible Truth of Astrology in Relation to Human Behavior.
Or the Dracula Foundation.
That's a Dracula.
That's a Dracula.
He was fascinated by astrology. He wrote a book called Astrology File that reached the bestsellers list. He appeared on TV chat shows and produced a huge body of questionable statistics to prove his conclusions.
God.
Great. I love those.
To write the book, he commissioned a statistical astrological study. He set up the, quote, empirical examination of the possible truth of astrology in relation to human behavior. The goal was to gather and analyze 10 million items of data from Switzerland's official statistics. He would say that the study cost less than a luxury car. He said, quote,
Well, for him.
This is not a book of predictions. It is a sensational book which shows conclusive evidence of connection between events and star signs, marriage, divorce, single people, suicide, academic life, work, illness, death, criminal activities, and driving accidents are all analyzed with extensive user-friendly charts and graphs to enable the reader to spot his own data and those of his closest friends, lovers, partners, children, and relatives.
Dogs.
At a glance.
Yeah, women get into astrology, men get into statistics.
So the results of this were published in the Astrology File in 1997, became a bestseller. Mathematicians have criticized Sachs' methodology and statistical analysis when it comes to astrology. They have found serious errors in all aspects of his works. They've concluded that his data does not show any statistical significance and should be dismissed.
Yeah.
It's all fucking bullshit.
Yeah, then he goes, yeah, but it says Scorpios are really bad at math and statistics, so. Isn't it right?
Figure that out. Checkmate, atheist. He was an early experimenter with digital photography.
Oh.
Rolf said, quote, he always wanted to find the new, and even at 72 in 2004, he started collecting graffiti art. We have tons of it. It shows a curious mind, a young mind, looking for what is the next thing and the next trend. In 2010...
He's Banksy.
Yeah. In 2010, he did an interview where he lamented that he had just one regret. Quote, I don't think there are many Playboys left.
Good. I mean, if that's your only regret, man. That's
That's not what you can do.
Now, on the 7th of May, 2011, it was a Saturday, and he was at his ski chalet in Stadt, Switzerland.
a long way from Schweinfurt.
At 78 years old, he shot himself in the head.
Holy shit.
On
Yeah.
purpose?
Yes.
Dude, that's awesome.
His body was found by a family member. Rolf Sachs confirmed his father's death and his method of suicide to the German celebrity magazine Bunte and the German news weekly Focus, or Focus. Other members of the Sachs family confirmed Rolf's statements and had added that Gunter Sachs had been suffering from an incurable degenerative disease. He was both a very public figure and a very private figure up until the end. He told his family to publish a suicide note.
Oh, let's hear it.
The signed letter stated that he had, quote, a no-hope illness and hopeless illness A. Most of us assumed that A meant Alzheimer's disease. He outlined symptoms like forgetfulness that are typical of the condition like Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
It looked like he diagnosed himself as having Alzheimer's. His family did not say he'd had that diagnosis from a physician.
But based on his own statistics.
Yeah,
Well, and where the fucking moon was.
Yeah.
Fucking Scorpio rising.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy sees fucking Mars up over fucking the Alps, and he's like, oh shit, I got Alzheimer's.
Bridget.
See?
Martin. What else? Moreover, quote, the loss of mental control over my life was an undignified condition, which I decided to counter decisively. I love that.
Decisive.
I love that phrasing. I'm countering it decisively.
I mean, I put a bullet in my head.
Yeah.
I win this round.
He explained further that he regarded any, quote, threat he would face as, quote, as the only criteria that would lead me to bring my life to an end. Laura notes here that you probably remember that Robin Williams had
Lewy body dementia.
Lewy body dementia, and it was probably his most critical factor in deciding to commit suicide in 2014. His widow, Susan Williams, wrote an editorial published in the journal Neurology where she said, quote, Robin was losing his mind and he was aware of it. Can you imagine the pain he felt as he felt himself disintegrating?
Yeah.
And Rolf, speaking about his father, he and the conclusion that he had Alzheimer's and that was incurable. And he said, quote, perhaps in his mind it was speculation. Whenever something like this happens, obviously there is chemistry involved, chemical imbalances which do things to your mind. He sounded like he forgave his father, but perhaps the news hadn't fully sunken in. Quote, it came as a big shock to us all, but as a family we are not bitter towards him. I admire the courage.
Yeah, not that they were hurting for resources or anything, but the family members of people going through Alzheimer's, or those degenerative diseases of the brain, like and mind.
Yeah, it
it's
does.
Brutal.
It traumatizes them.
Yeah, and it's very, very hard just to keep that person alive.
Yeah.
And go through them not recognizing you, having emotional outbursts and stuff.
Like when Uncle Junior has it in Sopranos, and he keeps telling Tony that he never had the makings of a varsity athlete. It's hurtful.
Yeah, it's hurtful, Junior.
It's hurtful.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. That is an interesting part of that thing in the show. He's like the things that they often will repeat are things that are like negative.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's also probably a lot of fear going through that brain.
Oh God! And then your heart just going out for them. I mean, God.
Yeah.
Switzerland has some of the most liberal laws in the world when it comes to acquiring firearms. Now, I could be wrong here, and maybe one of you can tell me, but I believe it was a thing, maybe after the war, where
you had to have a gun.
You had to.
Yeah. Everybody's trained on firearm usage and
like man, woman, child. Like
it's kind of like an
everybody just has a rifle.
Yeah, and it's like compulsory military service. It's a small country, so it's easy to do that. It's relatively uniform or
but
homogenous.
very interesting for a famously neutral country.
Yeah, but they also have like the Swiss guards are the guards for the Pope and the Vatican. Like they are. It's a quietly militarized country. Like
they
can raise pylons out of the roads to like stop tanks from coming
Really?
through. They could control like a quarter of Europe's freshwater supply.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they have all that fucking Nazi gold.
Yeah. Well, that's where you get your pylons.
But yeah, they I when I went there, I remember learning about, everyone is, it's kind of a gendarme kind of thing. Everyone's on call.
Yeah, sure.
Apparently you're not required to have a license to own a gun, but you must be issued a permit to purchase most types of firearms. And also of interesting note, assisted suicide has been legal in Switzerland since 1941.
Yes.
I'm not surprised.
1941. Fuck,
It's a good place.
right in the thick of it. They were like, "Hey,
All right. Well,
you want to
come
get
on.
out of here?" Because
I mean, it's pretty great here, but if you want to go
yeah, either do this or pick up a gun.
or make a watch or some
Yeah.
chocolate or something, dude, like,
Ski, I don't care.
come on,
Bobsled. What are you doing?
it's fucking great here.
It was the first country in the world to allow assisted dying of any kind. So if he wanted to seek out euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide because of Alzheimer's, he could have done it in Switzerland. And he also had the means to seek out euthanasia in a foreign country if he wanted. But it seems like he wanted to do it and go out his way.
Yeah.
A spokesman for Brigitte Bardot's animal rights charity replied to the media request for a comment from Bardot. They said she was devastated by her ex-husband's death. If you believe the estimation provided by the Swiss business magazine Bilanz, Gunter Sachs' personal fortune was between 340 and 450 million at the time of his death. A few months after his father's death, Rolf set up a very fitting memorial. He had 3,500 candles floating on the lake in St. Moritz in the shape of a Scorpio symbol.
That's so stupid.
So Scorpio.
In May of 2012, the Sachs family sold part of Gunter's art pop and nouveau realism collections through Sotheby's auction house. And Rolf himself is also a professional artist and designer, and he was arranging the auction of his father's collections. Sotheby's itself called the sale, quote, among the most desirable single-owner collections ever to come to market. Rolf explained the family's feelings on the sale, quote, people have said, oh my God, you're selling the collection, but the real core of his collection is staying in the family.
Yeah.
One of Yves Klein's pieces in the sale was Le Feu l'Enfer, a piece made using an industrial blowtorch at a state-owned gas research facility near Paris. They were also selling pieces by Max Ernst, Magritte, Dali, thickly painted gold canvas by Lucio Fontana, estimated to fetch as much as 900,000 pounds at auction. Sachs bought one of his last Warhols in 1998, quote, self-portrait, fright wig. Of Andy, Fright wig.
That's right near Schweinfall.
That was made by Warhol in 1986, just only a year before his death. That one piece sold between 2 and 3 million. When the Guardian reporter talked to Rolf about selling his father's collection, he was in a great mood. Quote,
Yeah.
The report said, quote, beaming with pride at a purchase he had made at auction that day. A vampire killing set from around 1900, which he can't wait to show to fellow members of the Dracula Club.
Hey, baby, check this out.
Woo! Quote, it's the most secretive club in St. Moritz, but Rolf says it's all in good fun. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's what
if
they
you're
all
a
say.
vampire. Yeah.
They're having fun.
Dude, we got to get into this.
Yeah.
Dracula.
He said, Father created it, and it's a very nice group of friends. Every member loves being part of bloodlessness.
Well, yeah,
What is
you're
this?
killing.
Yeah.
Listen, man, Van Helsing allowed in there?
Mm-hmm.
Dutchman?
Oof.
The family assembled a museum exhibition of Gunter Sachs' collection for the Villa Stuck in Munich. Open to the public October 2012, Rolf Sachs has taken on some of his father's responsibilities, like being the vice president of the Cresta Run, a natural
And banging Brigitte Bardot.
a natural ice skeleton racing toboggan track in Switzerland.
Ah.
So that's when you're just like on a board and you're just going
yeah.
through the natural ice.
Yeah, dude. I've seen that on the Olympics.
So these are some pictures of Gunter,
Oh.
and she finds him. Laura finds him to look a bit like Roman Polanski.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The nose,
Yeah,
the hair.
but yeah, that's the story of Gunter.
Gunter Sachs.
Gunter
The last
Sachs.
Playboy.
Yeah.
There's a song. God, who's it? But I think Morrissey's got a song. Last of the International Playboys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe we'll play it in the Patreon or at the end of this episode.
Oh. Wow.
Very interesting. I'm gonna
Very, very interesting. Yeah, it's a fascinating guy.
Yeah, it looks like a Gunter.
But he has all that sporty stuff in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, it seems like he does. I think, around the time he hits 40, he kind of is like, am I going to be a joke my whole life?
Right.
And
Yeah.
and then he starts kind of getting serious. And then
Even those guys have that.
Yeah.
That crisis.
Their midlife crisis is just based the higher up.
Yeah.
You know.
And there's a thing there too where you go like, okay, well, it's not as if he has to naturally be good at photography. Like French Vogue might like having be the photographer just because of who he is.
Yeah. Right.
But I mean,
But he was good.
I don't think his nepo shit could carry him that far.
Right. I mean, when you have the means and the time, you can get really good at shit.
And you're also surrounded by the best artists of the day.
Yeah, so you learn.
So you kind of are gonna know like I can't like toss out no shit here.
Yeah.
But it also influences you if you're waking up every day and your house is full of the best new art of the last 10 years. You're some of that's gonna get stuck in your brain. So the next time you take a picture, you're gonna be using some
and
of
his
that.
his taste was it seems very genuine in art and then I mean really just like you said, like the best investment he ever made
Incredible.
was just all of this shit, and he got it when all of these guys were not really that famous,
Right.
So it seems like he did actually have an eye.
Yeah, he saw something.
Yeah.
And that was just a fucking bonus because he never needed it.
No.
It's crazy.
Gunter Sachs, baby.
Gunter Sachs.
Yeah.
Gunter.
Yeah, it's a name you hear, but
Yeah.
I never knew the story of.
Yeah, fascinating character. I have to extend my thanks again to Laura for doing a great
Thank
job
you,
on
Laura.
that one.
Great
And gentlemen, thank you for your
Thank
two
you to you
wonderful
boys. Thank
profiles. Really, really enjoyed that.
That was fun.
3 Playboys.
Yeah.
Told by 3 Slay Boys.
Oh.
All right, gentlemen.
Well,
That's it.
I'm going to say
Very
goodnight.
nice.
I love you. My name is John Fahey.
I'm Aaron Pita.
Mapper Soap.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night.